The bully sneered, challenging his courage, but Kyoung Su didn't hesitate. He unleashed a barrage of punches straight to the face, shattering the thug's confidence. He left the thug sobbing in the dirt, shocking the onlookers. Little did they know, this rookie cop was actually the world's greatest assassin, reborn to exact bloody vengeance on the Mafia. But before the violence could erupt further, fate intervened. A frantic woman rushed to a patrol car, alerting the officers to a crisis. She claimed a girl was in serious danger down a dark alley. The officers nodded, agreeing to investigate the disturbance. As soon as the informant vanished, the senior officer let out a heavy sigh. He grumbled, clearly annoyed, wishing they could just clock out and go home. His partner pointed toward the commotion, eager to intervene. But the veteran sneered, asking why they should even bother risking their necks. He argued that the area was crawling with gangsters, making them powerless. Besides, stepping in would likely only stir up a hornet's nest of trouble. This wasn't the first incident, and he was sick of it. To him, justice was just an annoying inconvenience. Suddenly, a desperate scream echoed from the alley. The officers turned, stunned to see their own colleague standing tall amidst the shadows. The thug demanded to know what this intruder wanted. The protagonist stood firm, his voice ice-cold as he ordered them to release the girl immediately. The gangster cackled, stepping closer to blow smoke directly into the young officer's face, mocking him for thinking he had any authority here. In a flash, the protagonist moved. A lightning-fast hook connected with the thug's jaw, shattering his arrogance in an instant. The burning cigarette hit the pavement as the gangster collapsed, howling in agony while the crowd watched in paralyzed shock. The protagonist warned that force was the only language they understood. Music, the thug scrambled up, screaming for backup as his goons swarmed in for the kill. But numbers meant nothing. With a single, devastating blow, the protagonist sent the leader flying through the air like a ragdoll. From the safety of their car, the other officers watched in disbelief. Meanwhile, the humiliated gangster writhed on the ground, spitting venomous curses. Desperation set in. He reached into his coat, flashing a menacing blade and vowing that the officer would regret crossing him today. Unflinching, the protagonist stared down the steel. He asked calmly if the thug actually had the guts to use it. The gangster roared that he would end him right there. But the protagonist scoffed, noting that the thug's eyes lacked the conviction of a true killer. His confidence shaken, the thug stammered, questioning the officer's sanity. The protagonist simply stepped forward, daring him to strike. He pressed his own chest against the blade. He warned the trembling thug that hesitation would be fatal, forcing the coward to recoil in pure terror. The weapon clattered to the asphalt. Terrified, the gangster scrambled back, demanding to know the identity of this monster. The protagonist gripped the man's shoulder with crushing force. He declared himself the barrier against scum like them. He adjusted his police cap, his badge gleaming under the streetlights as he delivered a final, stern reprimand. 1 week prior, the scene shifted to the misty port of Yinan. A cargo crate creaked open, revealing the legendary agent, Byung Kwang, facing a gathering of shadows. Music, his partner, Dan Feng, checked his gear with practiced indifference, asking why the legend was running late. He sneered, asking if Byung Kwang was disrespecting them just because this was the final gathering. Byung Kwang shrugged off the tardiness but demanded the mission details. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A man stepped forward, swinging a heavy chain, claiming Bodisattva had sent his regards. The chain lashed out like a viper, but Byung Kwang was faster, deflecting the strike and neutralizing the attacker with a bone-crushing elbow. The assailant hit the dirt hard. Without missing a beat, the protagonist snatched the chain, wielding it as his own. He demanded an explanation. Dan Feng replied coldly that it was strictly business. Byung Kwang echoed the word, sensing the depth of the betrayal. His former ally smirked, announcing that this ambush was the official retirement party for the legendary agent. An assassin lunged with a blade, but Byung Kwang ensnared him instantly with the chain. A precise strike dropped him, leaving Byung Kwang facing a brute with a heavy weapon. The giant aimed a crushing blow at his shoulder. Byung Kwang didn't flinch, meeting the attack with eyes as cold as death. A thunderous kick swept the giant off his feet. Byung Kwang spun, effortlessly dodging another armed assailant's desperate swing. The chain danced through the air, binding the attacker into submission. Dan Feng watched the display with icy detachment as Byung Kwang hoisted a man by his collar. He roared, asking if this entire setup was just a futile attempt to kill him. The blonde traitor reached into his coat, sighing that things had become problematic. He muttered about preferring distance, drawing a sleek pistol and leveling it at his former comrade. He confirmed the kill order came directly from Bodisattva. He mocked Byung Kwang's fading prime, advising him to die quietly to save him the trouble of cleaning the gun. Byung Kwang couldn't believe it. This was supposed to be his final run, the mission that earned his freedom. He demanded to know why. Dan Feng simply replied that he could ask the devil in hell. Taking aim to fire, roaring with fury, the protagonist launched himself at the gunman. The confrontation erupted in a blur of violence. Far away, incense smoke curled through a silent temple. Bodisattva stood in prayer, glancing at a photo until his phone shattered the silence. He answered, asking if the deed was done. A voice on the other end confirmed the completion. Bodisattva slowly lowered the device. But back at the port, the protagonist stood victorious over Dan Feng. He snatched the phone, hearing Bodisattva ask if the legendary agent had been eliminated. The traitor spoke calmly, mentioning he was already preparing the 49th day funeral rites. Asking how Byung Kwang guessed it was his own memorial service, Byung Kwang simply asked if he was waiting at the temple. His boss, the man known as Bodisattva, scoffed, asking where else a monk would be, but mocked him, wondering if Byung Kwang truly believed he could breach a temple guarded by an army of elite agents. The legendary assassin's voice was cold as steel as he delivered a final warning. Leave the door open. He was already there. Byung Kwang stood before the temple gates, the weight of a gun heavy and familiar in his hand. He dropped the phone, letting it shatter. If they would not clear a path for him, he would carve one through flesh and bone. They needed to finish this face-to-face. An agent stepped forward, blocking his path, claiming Bodisattva was in the middle of a sacred ceremony. But Byung Kwang did not stop. He glared at the guard, accusing the organization of twisting innocent children into soulless weapons and profiting from the bloodshed of others. The agent froze, the truth striking a nerve. But training took over. He gripped his weapon, shifting it to his shoulder to fire. Byung Kwang moved like lightning. With a precise, devastating blow, he neutralized the threat, his mind flashing back to a childhood where he was forged into a tool of destruction. That man, Bodisattva, had stolen everything from him. His body, his humanity, his life. And now, he had even taken his family. Another agent raised a gun, but Byung Kwang turned with the fury of a demon, screaming that now they wanted to rob him of his very right to exist. Byung Kwang roared, reminding the master of his vow. Bodisattva had promised to return his life to him the moment the final mission was complete. Bodisattva stepped forward, his face a mask of false pity. He confirmed the promise, stating he would now grant him a normal life, because death was the only fate shared by all. That was the only true human life. The master raised his weapon, preparing to execute his most loyal dog. As the trigger was pulled, Byung Kwang did not beg for mercy. Through tears of blood, he swore that even if it took an eternity, he would crawl back from hell to take his revenge. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open. Voices were shouting at him to wake up. The blur cleared, revealing he was surrounded by uniformed police officers. A woman asked frantically what was happening. Her colleague muttered that the guy might have memory loss. She yelled at Kim Kyoung Su to snap out of it, and the protagonist blinked, confused by the name. She insisted that **** was Kim Kyoung Su. Her colleague, losing patience, shouted that his ID and a mirror were right there. He was at the Ilsan Police Station. The protagonist tasted the name on his tongue. Police officer Kim Kyoung Su. The legendary agent Byung Kwang was gone. He gripped the mirror, staring at a stranger's face. He had been defeated, killed, and somehow awakened in the body of a low-ranking cop. After being butchered by the organization, he should be in the shadows planning his bloody comeback. Instead, he was standing here, getting chewed out like a rookie. A superior officer continued to berate Kim Kyoung Su. The protagonist wondered how he ended up in this pathetic situation while his female colleague kept her head bowed in shame. Byung Kwang stared into the glass. The eyes staring back were those of a man who had tried to give up on everything. The girl confirmed his grim realization, asking with a trembling voice how he could try to take his own life. Her partner chimed in, saying he was lucky they found him in time, noting that he had been in a coma for a full week. The woman lectured him, her voice thick with emotion, telling him that writing the names of his bullies in a suicide note would never solve his problems. Kyoung Su asked what she meant. She revealed the truth. His suicide note contained a hit list of the superiors who had tormented him, questioning their corrupt methods. Outside the office, Wang Chil-man, a corrupt senior officer, loudly complained about why this year's rookies were such a headache. He sneered, announcing to the room that the protagonist's parents had died after committing crimes. He mocked Kyoung Su, asking why he was following in their footsteps. The son of a criminal becoming a cop, he warned him that if he wanted to die, he should do it quietly. He spat that Kyoung Su never should have written their names in that note. Then, with arrogance written all over his face, he raised his hand to slap him. A sharp asterisk crack asterisk echoed through the room. Chil-man froze. The protagonist had caught his wrist in an iron grip. The superior stared, asking if he had lost his mind. Chil-man demanded to know how he dared to resist. He barked at Jo Kyung-hee, the female officer, and she jumped in terror. The bully asked if this was mutiny. She stammered, claiming she couldn't see anything from her angle. His lackey, Yang, crouched down, aggressively grabbing the girl to force her to watch. While Chil-man continued to scold Kyoung Su, the protagonist turned his cold gaze toward the lackey. Kyoung Su muttered that this place was a complete pigsty. Chil-man asked what he said, but the protagonist simply crushed his grip on the man's arm. The corrupt officer began to squirm in pain. Yang looked over, confused, asking what was happening. Chil-man screamed at him to let go, but the protagonist didn't just let go. He took him down with a lightning-fast strike. Chil-man hit the floor hard, his lackey asking wide-eyed what just happened. The protagonist flowed into his next move, incapacitating the police superior with a decisive, bone-rattling blow. The man dropped to the ground, completely neutralized. The entire station watched in stunned silence, while Yang yelled that he was rebelling against a superior officer. Later, in a private office, Superintendent Choi Jina ordered the protagonist to leave immediately. She scoffed, asking who had ever heard of cops fighting each other, let alone a rookie assaulting a superior. She asked if he thought he was untouchable. She couldn't fire him easily just for being a cop, but she vowed to make sure he never wore that uniform again, ordering him to get out of her sight. As dusk settled over the city, the protagonist removed his hat, his mind racing. He realized that the police force was just another den of vipers, no better than the criminals. He recalled the chaos at the station and the girl's voice calling out for Kim Kyoung Su. His new life had begun, and it was going to be violent. She demanded to know if he had lost his mind, but the protagonist simply replied that it was self-defense. Another colleague scoffed, asking if he had forgotten that the father of those two punks was a deputy commissioner. Besides, the man held one of the 5-star police classification marks, so he advised him to just go home safely before they realized he was missing. Back on the bench, the protagonist remarks with a scowl that this is exactly why the system can never stop monsters like him, and that he was just wasting his time inside this pathetic station. Their father possesses that medal, a symbol of power equivalent to a general star in the army. He thought he should have at least been reborn as a high-ranking officer to abuse that power. But instead, he was still in exile from the organization. Meanwhile, a curious little boy asks him what a policeman actually is. Kim Kyoung Su stares at his hat, whispering that even so, he remembers being that little boy on the ground, reaching for the monk's hand, accepting a destiny that transformed him from a frightened child into Byung Kwang, the legendary enforcer for the organization. The memory shifts to the monk calling out his name. Suddenly, the protagonist finds himself staring down the barrel of a gun, and as he sarcastically asks Buddha for mercy, a gunshot rings out. Back in the reality of his small room, the protagonist reflects on his grim situation, repeating the name Kim Kyoung Su while glaring at the introduction to police science book on his desk. He had been abandoned by his parents, discarded by the organization, and finally, he had even lost his own life. But at least his past and present selves had one thing in common, he muses, wondering if it was time to leave this life behind too. In the Gangdu region, inside the police department, a man decorated with 2 Taeguk medals. Superintendent General Hong Jun analyzes data on his tablet. The Hwagik Temple investigation had been dismissively closed, until a chilling voice behind him remarks that it has been a long time, asking if he has been well. Hong Jun spins around, demanding to know what is going on. But the protagonist freezes him in place with a pen held like a lethal dagger, suggesting they have a little chat. Hong Jun asks who he is, and the protagonist replies with a name that should be dead, Byung Kwang. The superintendent freezes, shock written all over his face. Trying to regain composure, Hong Jun stammers that this is absurd. Byung Kwang lost his life, and the idea that he woke up as a cop is a fairy tale impossible to believe. The protagonist coldly replies that he wasn't asking for belief, he was threatening him. Causing Hong Jun to let out a heavy sigh, Kyoung Su stands up, addressing him formally as Mr. Hong. He declares that Hong is going to help him reopen the Hwagik investigation, forcibly grabbing his attention. The protagonist stares at him with eyes full of killing intent, and when Hong Jun asks who he exactly is, Kyoung Su repeats that he was indeed Byung Kwang. Under the table, Hong secretly grabs a radio, whispering that this isn't the place to discuss Hwagik, but the radio crackles, betraying his plan with a loud static noise. The protagonist sighs, calling him Mr. Hong again, and says he will repeat himself one last time because he wasn't asking for a favor. He reveals that in the hallway, all the officers have already been taken down, emphasizing that this is a threat, not a negotiation. Hong is incredulous, repeating his question of identity, and the protagonist states once more that he was Byung Kwang and reminds him of 3 years ago. The two of them had made a blood pact when Superintendent Hong was bleeding out on the ground, and the protagonist had whispered his name. Hong Jun had asked if he was from Hwagik, and the protagonist responded by asking if he was the man hunting the person behind the Buddha who is causing so much chaos. He noted that Hong was the first one to get this close to the target, and that Buddha had asked him to deliver a message of death, saying he has no interest in insects like him. But as he pointed a blade at Hong Jun, the officer begged the protagonist for mercy. Byung Kwang questioned if he really wanted mercy, addressing Mr. Hong while slowly taking off his mask, declaring they were going to make a deal with the devil. He would let the superintendent live, and in return, Hong would promise to put that guy in jail within 3 years, forcing him to fabricate evidence if necessary. Hong Jun asked why he would turn traitor if he was in the same organization as Buddha. Byung Kwang simply asked if he liked monks, revealing that he personally had a deep, burning aversion to them. Back in the present, Kyoung Su slams his hand down, saying that was their promise. But Hong didn't keep it. Instead, he studies Hong's face, noting the 2 Taeguk medals and how much he has been promoted in these 3 years. So, besides breaking his solemn promise, it appears he had been busy sucking up to his corrupt supervisors. In that case, it left him no choice, as he would have to silence him permanently. A statement that sends a shiver of pure fear through Hong. Hong shouts desperately that he didn't break his promise on purpose, that he had no choice, asking if he thinks he got this high rank just by pleasing his superiors, explaining that it is easier to access confidential intel from this position. And with that access, he used all the information he collected in the past for a major presentation. Where his superiors questioned him about the organized group of enforcers, he had boldly stated that the supposed head of the criminal organization is Monk Yeo-Hwa, the figure known as Buddha. Hong Jun confirms this, displaying the monk's face on the screen for the board to see, but the superiors just laughed, mocking him by saying, "Superintendent General Hong must be reading too many comic books," dismissing Hwagik Temple as a protected national cultural heritage site, even as Jun insisted his squad's investigation proved otherwise. Suddenly, a man with 5 Taeguk stars on his shoulder interrupted, his voice dripping with menace. He warned that if Hong is not careful, he might have to face divine retribution, a threat that left Hong paralyzed with realization. He coldly warns them to keep their religion to themselves and stop meddling where they do not belong. Kyoung Su sums up the situation. Someone higher up blocked the investigation. Hong confirms it with a heavy sigh, handing over a thick envelope. This evidence was the fruit of his squad's desperate blood, sweat, and tears. The protagonist snatches the file. His eyes skim the pages with lightning speed, absorbing every detail. A dark realization hits him. He understands now. The investigation was stopped not because it was dangerous, but because his evidence was pathetic and weak. However, he muses, some of these details are correct. He tells Hong he will let him live for now. But when relief washes over the older man's face, the protagonist's eyes narrow. "Why do you look so happy?" I said, "for now." Terror grips Mr. Hong's heart again. Kyoung Su declares that from this moment on, Hong will be his personal shield against any future interference. With a mock salute, Kyoung Su smirks. "I look forward to our partnership, Superior Hong." The title drips with sarcasm, leaving the man paralyzed in shock. The sun rises over the Ilsan Police Station, birds chirping as if mocking the chaos to come. Ya Young and her colleague are buried in paperwork when bang. The door flies open with enough force to shatter the silence. Kyoung Su strides in, beaming. "Good morning, everyone." The girl blinks in confusion, asking if he wasn't fired yesterday. Suddenly, Chief Choi bursts out of his office, his face red with rage. "What is all this racket?" His jaw drops when he spots the protagonist. "You." He stammers, calling him by name, unable to believe the audacity. Chief Choi marches forward, spitting venom. "I told you never to show your face here again. The superiors are away, so get lost before I—" He freezes. A menacing figure looms behind Kyoung Su. Choi's face drains of color. He is struck speechless, his knees trembling as he realizes who stands there. As Superintendent General. The entire precinct snaps to attention, saluting in unison. Chief Choi, sweating bullets, stammers, "Sir, what brings a legend like you to this dump?" Hong Jun forces a smile, playing his part. "I just stopped by to see Officer Kyoung Su's workplace." Choi looks between the rookie and the general, his brain short-circuiting. "You know each other?" The Superintendent General clears his throat, his voice booming through the silent room. "Officer Kim Kyoung Su is my savior," he declares, placing a hand on the protagonist's shoulder. "You will all take very good care of him, understood?" The protagonist leans in, enjoying the fear in the room. Later, outside the station, he chuckles. Life really is on easy mode when you have a high-ranking official in your pocket. Hong Jun sighs. "Is that all you need?" The protagonist's expression darkens. "Not quite," he whispers. "I have one more favor to ask." Night descends upon the Haguka temple. The corrupt monk, known as Buddha, strikes the wooden fish in rhythmic prayer before a painting that hides 1,000 sins. His senses spike. He spins around. Who is there? From the shadows, Byung Kwang steps forward, his voice dripping with malice. "Just a poor soul, holding a massive grudge." The monk's eyes widen in surprise. The protagonist steps into the candlelight, his face hidden. "They call me a ghost." In a flash, the monk grabs a handful of incense sticks and hurls them like daggers. But Byung Kwang tilts his head, dodging the deadly projectiles with terrifying ease. "TSK, TSK," Byung Kwang mocks, plucking a stray incense stick from the wall. A monk shouldn't damage the temple of the divine. The monk glares at the intruder's mask. "Who are you to hide your face?" The protagonist shrugs. "I told you, just a ghost coming to haunt you." With a sharp snap of his fingers, the monk summons his hidden subordinates from the shadows. "If you are a ghost," the monk sneers, "then let me help you reach the afterlife." The thugs draw their weapons, circling the intruder like wolves. The monk closes his eyes, focusing his aura. Byung Kwang moves. He is a blur of motion, instantly neutralizing the first attacker. The thug drops his weapon, and before it hits the floor, it is already in the protagonist's hand. The others rush him. An axe swings down with bone-crushing force. But Byung Kwang is faster than sight. He deflects, strikes, and moves to the next target in a single breath. Bodies hit the floor with heavy thuds. The remaining adversaries hesitate, fear flickering in their eyes. The monk watches in stunned silence as the protagonist stares back, his gaze piercing through the mask. Byung Kwang beckons the monk with a taunting finger. The Buddha roars in fury. Enough of this useless fighting. The protagonist pauses, analyzing the battlefield. Just as expected, he thinks. The orchid's interference signals have disabled the cameras. No witnesses. This is getting complicated. Byung Kwang sighs theatrically. It seems there are more souls here who need my help reaching the light. I better start sending you to hell right now, he threatens, his killing intent exploding. Or you'll end up wandering ghosts just like me. The monk shoves his useless men aside. Retreat. He barks. He glares at the masked man. I don't know who sent you, but you reek of ill intentions. The monk takes a combat stance, his aura flaring. Come here, boy. Let me rip that mask off your face. Byung Kwang laughs softly. That's fine. I only came to say hello today. He steps back. You'll find out who I am soon enough. Just wait patiently for your judgment. I still need to train this body, he thinks, realizing his limits. The monk lunges, his hand inches away from the mask. Boom! A sudden explosion engulfs the room in thick smoke. The thugs cough and panic. Smoke bomb. Master, are you all right? I'm fine, the monk growls, clutching something in his hand. He stares at the open door where the intruder vanished. In his grip, the mask cracks and shatters. He turns to the altar, his eyes burning with fury. So, it was a ghost after all. The next morning at the park, Hong Jun looks like he has aged 50 years. You look terrible, Kyoung Su jokes. Did you age 10 years overnight? Hong Jun glares at him. This is all your fault. Do you know how hard it was to clean up your mess and get that smoke bomb? The poor superintendent groans. He has been working non-stop to cover the protagonist's tracks. Kyoung Su scoffs at the idea of overtime. He wouldn't be buried in paperwork if he had just slapped the cuffs on that corrupt monk when he had the chance. Hong Jan rubs his temples, explaining that they need evidence first, then the prosecutors. Kyoung Su snaps back, asking why justice has to be such a complicated bureaucratic nightmare. The superintendent narrows his eyes. He states coldly that a person who resorts to brute force would never understand the weight of the badge. Kyoung Su stands his ground. He isn't a criminal. He only crushes those who pose a real threat to the innocent, and his survival is living proof of his methods. Hong Jan slams his hand down, telling Kyoung Su to listen and pay close attention. No one gets to play judge, jury, and executioner. Everyone acts within the laws of the society they built, no matter how much the criminal deserves it. Kyoung Su's gaze turns ice cold. He asks if that monk was judged by those same laws, or if he slipped through the cracks. Hong Jan sighs, even if they catch 10 devils. The law presumes innocence until guilt is proven in a court of law. Solid proof. It always comes down to that. Kyoung Su lets out a frustrated breath, wondering aloud if he should just form his own squad to cut through the red tape. Hong Jan explodes. He yells that Kyoung Su is just a rookie with zero field experience. Strength alone doesn't give him the right to lead, because in this uniform, rank is God. The hierarchy is absolute. Kyoung Su doesn't flinch. He asks how high he needs to climb to get that authority. Hong Jan points to his shoulder. He needs the Mugungwa insignia. A fire lights in Kyoung Su's eyes. Fine. Then he will just have to climb the ladder and snatch that promotion in record time. Hong Jan starts to warn the young hothead about patience, but he's talking to thin air. The rookie has already vanished. Back at the Ilsan Police Station, Janji blinks in confusion as Kyoung Su repeats his question about how to get promoted fast. She shrugs, saying he has to take the standard promotional exam. A passing colleague chuckles, telling Kyoung Su not to harass the poor girl. Janji tilts her head, asking if his memory is still scrambled, since he should know this. Kyoung Su ignores the jab and asks when the test is. Her answer is a bucket of cold water. He needs at least 1 full year of active duty experience first. Chaos erupts. A woman screams about terrible service. Kyoung Su silences the room with a look, solving the issue instantly, then turns back to ask if there is a faster way. Janji frowns. Why the obsession with getting a Mugungwa rank so quickly? Kyoung Su's voice is flat. He just needs to move up. She laughs. Keep dreaming. For a rookie starting from the bottom of the food chain, hitting that rank takes at least 10 years. Kyoung Su presses on. Does that 10-year rule apply even if the superintendent general is backing him? Janji rolls her eyes, admitting she is jealous of his connections, but the reality is unchanged. He still has to take the exams. Kyoung Su leans in, desperate. There has to be another path. Janji hesitates. There is one way. The special promotion. If he scores a massive performance boost by apprehending major criminals, he can skip the line and get a special promotion. But rookies don't get those cases. They are stuck doing what they are told and handling petty civil complaints. Someday, maybe he could. She stops. The chair is empty. Kyoung Su has already run off to another district. The city night comes alive. Shady business deals and street brawls. Kyoung Su prowls the shadows, wondering why a cop needs books when the real test is on the streets. His job is simple. Hunt down the lawbreakers and drag them to justice. He adjusts his hat. Time to get to work. He is going to grind until that special promotion is in his hand. Statistics say 1 in every 3 Koreans has a criminal record. Usually, it is just a small misdemeanor or a petty offense. However, 1 in 3 is a staggering number. But Kyoung Su isn't hunting minnows. He is looking for a shark. He needs a serious felony, a headline-making bust that will force the brass to advance his career. The kind of danger he breathed in his previous life. Then, he sees it. A man discreetly passing a business card to a woman. Target acquired. Finally, a crime on his level involving illegal narcotics. He follows them into a nightclub, where the DJ suddenly cuts the music. Confusion ripples through the crowd. The DJ grabs the mic, asking why everyone is standing like statues. He wants to set the dance floor on fire. A woman shouts from the floor, begging for a drink, saying if he brings the goods, the real party can start. The DJ grins like a wolf. Is that what the girls want? Do they want to feel alive? He says everyone looks tired and needs a boost. He reaches into a bag and throws packets of goodies high into the air. Tonight, we erase tomorrow. Grab them and party like it's the end of the world. But a hand snatches a packet from the air. Kyoung Su interrupts, declaring the party over. The only thing they will be waking up to is a jail cell. The DJ sneers, asking if the guy is mad because he doesn't fit in. He tells Kyoung Su to take a hit and loosen up, but the protagonist refuses. Kyoung Su's voice cuts through the bass. These aren't party favors. They are illegal narcotics. The crowd gasps in shock. Whispers of illegal drugs spread like wildfire. The DJ glares, asking what nonsense he is spouting and demanding to know who he thinks he is. Kyoung Su rips off his casual jacket. The strobe lights catch the glint of his badge. He is the police. How the hell did a cop get in here? The DJ screamed over the music, panic rising in his chest. What are those useless bouncers doing at the entrance? His bodyguard just shrugged, clearly as clueless as his boss. Suddenly, a bottle smashed against the wall inches from the DJ's head. Shattering into 1,000 pieces, the protagonist stepped out of the shadows, eyes cold. "We can finish this little chat in a prison cell," he declared. Terror seized the DJ. "Run, everyone run," he shrieked, bolting for the exit. He kicked open the back door, shouting warnings to his crew. "The police are here. We're compromised. Grab the cash, leave the rest. We move now." The DJ barked orders, sweat pouring down his face. His assistant looked up, confused. "Boss, what's going on?" Before the assistant could react, a body went flying into the room. Asterisk thud. Asterisk the protagonist didn't hesitate, neutralizing the assistant with a swift strike before advancing deeper into their hideout. Desperate to escape, one of the security guards grabbed the doorknob and rattled it violently. It wouldn't budge. It stuck. "What are you waiting for, you idiot? Open it," the DJ yelled. The guard turned back, his face pale with realization. It's locked from the outside. And all our men out there, they've already been defeated. Kyoung Su stepped into the light, his presence dominating the room. "Do you really want to mess with me?" The DJ paused, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the hallway. "Wait, are you alone?" Kyoung Su smirked, adjusting his cuffs. "And what if I am? Is that a problem?" The criminal's fear instantly morphed into arrogance. "I got scared of a single cop." He laughed, realizing he wasn't surrounded. "I thought the whole force was here." With renewed confidence, the DJ snapped his fingers. "Boys, get him." Kyoung Su noticed the guards reaching into their pockets, Asterisk something's wrong. Asterisk they pulled out ominous red stickers and slapped them directly onto their necks. Instantly, their veins bulged, and they howled in agony as unnatural power surged through their bodies. Now you're in trouble, the DJ sneered. But Kyoung Su moved like a blur, lunging forward to slam one of the enhanced guards into the floor. The man hit the ground with a bone-shaking crash. Kyoung Su looked down at him calmly. SHH. Let's not make so much noise. As the guard groaned in pain, Kyoung Su dusted off his hands. This fight, it's already coming to an end. Watching his chemically enhanced heavy hitters drop in seconds, the DJ collapsed to the floor. The arrogance was gone, replaced by pure, trembling terror. He scrambled backward, raising his hands in surrender. Wait, officer, we can talk about this. He stammered, desperate. Do you want something? I can get you anything. Name your price. The protagonist tilted his head, feigning interest. Oh, you're serious about that? Yes, is it valuables, cash? The DJ's eyes lit up with hope. I'll give you whatever. Kyoung Su cut him off. Actually, there's a special promotion today. He reached for the man's face. I just want this asterisk. Moments later, a news alert flashed on a nearby phone. Asterisk breaking news. Last night, a massive gang ring was dismantled at a club in Ilsan. All members have been arrested. Asterisk. The report continued, highlighting the growing crisis of controlled substances plaguing the population of South Korea. Back at the station, team leader Gina tossed a file onto the desk. Congratulations on a job well done, Senior Officer Kyoung Su. Kyoung Su shrugged. Just doing my duty. Gina's expression darkened. Duty? What kind of rookie abandons his assigned post to go Rambo on a gang? Your arrest methods were reckless. Kyoung Su ignored the scolding and placed a single, dried leaf on the table. Take a look at this. Evidence? Gina asked, frowning. Did you take this from the crime scene? Kyoung Su nodded. It was hidden in the safe. A paulownia leaf. It's the raw material, he explained, his voice low. Gina's eyes widened as the realization hit her. This leaf was the key ingredient for those red power-up stickers. Meanwhile, in a shadowy warehouse, a figure wearing a phoenix mask held one of the stickers. Before him, a man was restrained, screaming as subordinates forced a sticker onto his skin. A woman watched from the darkness, trembling. He was the one in charge of Ilsan. The masked man stated coldly, "What are you waiting for?" The boss demanded, "Apply another one." The restrained man begged for mercy, but the sticker was slapped onto his chest. His body convulsed violently before he collapsed, motionless. The experiment was a failure. Brother Bang was defeated, the phoenix said without emotion. And Brother Oak Leaf has been punished. The observing woman swallowed hard. Asterisk I can't end up like them. Asterisk I have to deal with that cop, she thought. And soon. Back at the precinct, Kyoung Su identified the symbol. November's Phoenix Paulownia, notorious for their involvement in the drug trade. Later, in the solitude of the gym, the protagonist reflected on his situation. Asterisk the one thing I've realized since possessing this body is that it's actually quite capable. Asterisk. Asterisk muscular strength, endurance, agility, and flexibility. Asterisk he threw a punch into the air. Asterisk it's all perfectly balanced. Asterisk. Asterisk however, asterisk his expression hardened. Asterisk to stop the Hakua group and crush their executives. This isn't enough. Asterisk. Kyoung Su wiggled his fingers, testing his grip, then sighed and lay back on the floor. Asterisk this vessel hasn't reached its peak yet. I need more time to cultivate. Asterisk. Suddenly, voices broke his concentration. Senior Officer Kyoung Su. Do you have a minute? He sat up, annoyed. What is it? The three officers smiled awkwardly. Well, Kyoung Su summarized for them. You're basically saying you want to get promoted too. They nodded eagerly. Exactly. Why come to me? Kyoung Su asked. One female officer, Janji, blurted out. Because you have the backing of the Superintendent General. Her colleague nudged her sharply. No, it's because he was recently promoted. We admire him. We're here for you, sir. If you need anything, just ask. We'll work hard. The protagonist stared at them with dead eyes. Why exactly would I need your help? Have you forgotten how nice we were to you? Janji asked, looking hurt. Kyoung Su nodded. Yes. I have short-term amnesia. Remind me. We were chosen by the superiors, she insisted. We even visited you in the hospital. We're practically colleagues. That word colleagues struck a chord. The protagonist froze. A memory flashed in his mind. The sound of rain hitting an ancient temple roof. A voice echoed from his past life. Are you truly Byung Kwang? The one who decides who lives and who dies. The memory sharpened. Are you kidding me? A man like you was the strongest among us all? The other two figures in the memory looked on in disbelief. Silence hangs heavy in the air until a voice cuts through the tension, calling out to Mr. Buddha to give Byung Kwang special treatment. The interruption is annoying. The man scowls, wondering why this nuisance isn't just dragged away in chains. Back in the present, Kyoung Su's eyes turn cold. Colleagues, he scoffs. Come back when you have the rank to match. We are not equals. He taps the insignia on his shoulder. 3 diamonds shine against their 2. The hierarchy is absolute. Ya Young bristles at the disrespect, rage flaring in her eyes. But Kyoung Su just smirks, joking that she's already rebelling against a superior officer. What is this circus? A booming voice demands. The 3 rookies freeze and spin around, coming face to face with Chief Na. They snap to attention, saluting nervously. Chief Na eyes them down. Is your work finished? Ya Young stammers that they were just taking a breather. Chief Na sighs. I can't help rookies like you. But then his gaze shifts to Kyoung Su, and his expression softens completely. You, of course, are the exception. The lucky charm of our station. He pats Kyoung Su's shoulder with fatherly pride. Are you in pain? Don't overwork yourself, you hear? Ya Young watches in disbelief. Her superior has done a complete 180 now that Kyoung Su is fast-tracking for a promotion. But beneath the shock, curiosity bubbles. What exactly are those two plotting? Meanwhile, outside, Young Chan is fuming about the protagonist's success. Shulman tries to calm his brother down. Watch your blood pressure, man. But Young Chan snaps. Calm? How am I supposed to stay calm? The superintendent general covers for him. And now a special promotion? Jealousy burns through his veins like acid. The whole station revolves around him. I won't believe it until I see it with my own eyes. Suddenly, a soft voice interrupts their rant. Excuse me, officers. Could you help me find someone? Youngchan waves her off dismissively. We aren't a help desk. Figure it out yourself. But Chulman nudges him hard. Bro, look. Youngchan looks up and freezes. A stunning blonde girl stands there, holding a dead phone, looking helpless. His attitude flips instantly. I'm so sorry for being rude. Chulman whispers for him not to look so desperate. The girl steps closer, her eyes wide and innocent. The brothers lean in, eager to serve. Where are you headed, miss? I need to go to the Ilsan Police Station, she replies sweetly. Youngchan puffs out his chest. That's exactly where we work. Chulman grins. We can escort you. The girl's smile widens. What a relief. Then you must know Officer Kim Kyoung Su. The name wipes the smiles right off their faces. After a pause, they mutter that he's their subordinate. What do you want with him? The girl's expression darkens slightly. He has things that belong to me, and my father will be very angry if I don't get them back. Chulman assumes she's a jilted girlfriend, and Youngchan scoffs, saying he would have dumped her too. She reaches into her bag. As a thank you, she chirps, offering them cookies. Have some guava bread for the walk. Unaware of the danger, they accept. Meanwhile, in his office, Hong Jun reviews a terrifying report on the colony of Phoenix. According to Byung Kwang's intel, she controls the Waga clan's finances. But her real weapon is a controlled substance, administered in lethal stages. The street name is infamous, Buddha's Tears. She operates out of fear of punishment, yet she is a legend in the underworld, a living nightmare. In the break room, Kyoung Su is grabbing coffee when the automatic doors slide open. The blonde girl strolls in, casually munching on a cookie. Outside, the brothers lie unconscious on the pavement. She swallows the treat like it's nothing, standing boldly before the officers. The atmosphere shifts instantly. To the others, she looks like an unstable civilian, but then she locks eyes with him. I found you, Mr. Officer. Obsession drips from her voice as she stares at the protagonist. Ya Young frowns. Did you lose something, miss? "I'm missing my Paulownia leaves," she whispers, her gaze never wavering. "The Paulownia flowers. Wrapped in your leaf." Ya Young is confused. "Do you want us to check for lost items?" The woman shakes her head slowly. "No need." A sinister smile plays on her lips. "I don't need to check, because Kim Kyoung Su has them." The colleagues are baffled, but Kyoung Su freezes. She hasn't changed at all. The madness in her eyes is exactly the same. He calculates his options. Calling for backup is impossible. The Orchid signal jammer has already killed the comms. The cameras are blind. "Are you ignoring me?" she asks, tilting her head. Kyoung Su stares her down, his mind flashing back to where it all began. Flashback, the dojo smells of sweat and blood. He grips a wooden sword as a younger version of the girl charges at him like a wild beast. Byung Kwang stands his ground. He parries her strike and slams the weapon into her abdomen. The impact echoes, and she drops to the floor, gasping. He points the sword at her throat. Buddha steps out from the shadows, his voice cold. "Well, Byung Kwang, are any of them useful?" The protagonist looks down at the defeated girl, then shakes his head in disappointment. "Just as I thought," Buddha sneers. He snaps his fingers. Killers emerge from the darkness. "Neutralize them all. They are waste." Byung Kwang's eyes widen. "Wait," he shouts, stepping between them. "With a little training, I can turn them into weapons." Empathy, Buddha declares coldly, is nothing but a shackle for the strong. The protagonist can only grit his teeth and avert his gaze. The silent screams of the suffering children burning into his soul. He squeezes his eyes shut, trying to block out the horror. Just as an agent steps forward to summon the man known as Mr. Buddha, a young girl drops her blade, desperation wild in her eyes. She swears she can still fight, begging for a chance to prove her worth, but Buddha looks down, questioning if this path of blood is truly what she desires. Failure here means death, or perhaps something worse. The girl pleads frantically with Mr. Buddha, refusing to accept defeat. She struggles violently against her restraints, but it is useless. The protagonist turns away in shame as agents pin her down and force a mysterious liquid down her throat. Hours pass. Buddha orders the mess cleaned up, believing the deed is done. But miraculously, the girl remains conscious, her will defying the lethal dose. Even the stoic Buddha is taken aback, seeing a flicker of potential in her survival. He drags her to a secluded chamber and issues a challenge: survive a month of hellish tests. Prove your worth or die trying. Driven by a twisted obsession, the girl endures the torture, building an immunity to the poisons day by agonizing day. Years of suffering mold her into a perfect weapon. Upon adulthood, Buddha bestows upon her a mask and a new title. She is now the November Phoenix. She accepts her destiny with warped gratitude. Now, in the present, that same broken child stands before him, unhinged and dangerous, asking if Kyoung Su intends to ignore her existence. Her voice drops to a chilling whisper. She demands to know one thing: where are her confiscated items? Kyoung Su scans the room. There are too many innocent eyes watching. Thinking fast, he lies, claiming the dangerous artifacts are stored at his personal residence. He invites her to follow, plotting to lure this ticking time bomb to a deserted location to finish her off. But the girl's eyes narrow, cold as ice. Kyoung Su moves to leave, ignoring his confused colleagues. But Phoenix does not budge. She sneers, calling his bluff. He is far too careful to keep such volatile items in his own home. The air in the station shifts instantly. His colleagues freeze, realizing the gravity of the situation. "Did you really think I was that stupid?" she hisses. In a blur of motion, she draws mystic seals from her bag and hurls them through the air. Kyoung Su dodges with a microscopic tilt of his head, displaying godlike reflexes. But his colleagues are not so lucky. The seals slam directly onto their faces. The magic takes hold instantly. Their eyes roll back as they collapse to the floor, unconscious before they even hit the ground. Chaos erupts. Phoenix mocks him with a sweet apple while her minions swarm the station, slapping paralyzing seals onto every officer in sight. She smiles cruelly, knowing his weakness. These people will die without the antidote. The deal is simple: hand over the items, or watch the station become a graveyard. No more talk. Kyoung Su explodes forward, charging at her with speed faster than the eye can track. Before she can react, he shatters the device in her hand with a surgical strike. Shock floods her face. He wasn't aiming for her, but for her leverage. With a sickening crunch, the protagonist pulverized the signal jammer between his bare fingers. Music Phoenix's eyes flashed with fury as she watched her expensive equipment turn to dust. "I'm calling for backup," Kyoung Su warned, his voice deadly calm. But he knew the truth. Right now, in this isolated zone, no one was watching them. It was the perfect stage for a brutal education. He leveled his baton straight at her face. Phoenix tilted her head, genuinely confused. What are you babbling about? You'll understand once I knock some sense back into your skull," Kyoung Su replied coldly. "Let's get this started. I need to make sure you remember the good old days." Her glare could freeze water, but suddenly, she burst into laughter. "Wow," she scoffed. "This officer is actually trying to threaten me. You've got guts. First you smash my toys, now this," she sneered, shaking her head. "You must be having one hell of a rough day, detective." Kyoung Su didn't wait for a witty retort. He lunged, swinging the baton with lethal precision. Phoenix barely ducked in time, but Kyoung Su was faster, slamming a brutal knee strike right into her midsection. She staggered back, the breath driven from her lungs. Her hand went to her forehead, coming away stained with crimson. "You annoying little cop," she hissed, trembling with rage. "Do you have a death wish?" Kyoung Su just smirked. "You know, you look even uglier when you're angry." "I'll admit, you surprised me a little," Phoenix said, her eyes narrowing. "You're no ordinary beat cop." Kyoung Su gripped his weapon tighter. "Cut the act. We both know you're not calm right now. Where did you crawl out of?" she demanded, circling him. "Special Forces, Black Ops." But Kyoung Su remained silent, letting his aura do the talking. "Whatever." She reached for her chest, ripping off a glowing seal. "I couldn't care less what you used to be." The air grew heavy with oppressive energy. "Well," Kyoung Su muttered, grimacing at the sudden pressure, "that feels unpleasant." A twisted smile cracked her face. "I hope your affairs are in order." She vanished, rushing towards him with godlike speed. Kyoung Su barely lifted his head in time. Asterisk bam, asterisk his baton connected squarely with her jaw. "Did you really think," he taunted over the ringing steel, "that one little seal would be enough?" Phoenix hit the dirt hard, shock written all over her face. Kyoung Su loomed over her. "You still don't get it, do you? To stand a chance against me, you're going to need at least 10 of those limiters released." He didn't give her a second to breathe. He unleashed a storm of dozens of blows, raining hell upon her as she desperately tried to block the onslaught. Through the pain, she made a sharp gesture with her hand. "You filth," she screamed. "How dare you?" "You haven't changed a bit," Kyoung Su sighed, shaking his head. "Always relying on fancy artifacts and items, while neglecting to train your actual body." But given the situation, he shrugged. "I should probably thank you for being so weak." Fury exploded in her eyes. "Who the hell are you? Stop acting like you know me." He crouched down to her eye level, a dark shadow falling over his face. "Who knows?" With a casual swing, his baton connected one last time. Phoenix collapsed to the floor, darkness claiming her consciousness. Without a second's hesitation, the protagonist asserts his dominance. He presses the baton against her, his voice cold as steel. "You should recognize me by now," he taunts, "especially with how easily you're being controlled." Phoenix demands answers, confusion warring with rage. But Kyoung Su doesn't hesitate. Even with her senses dulled by stimulants, he drives the baton into her, pinning her to the ground with crushing force. He grits his teeth, applying more pressure. She needs to realize exactly who she is dealing with before he puts her lights out permanently. "Let go," she screams, her fingers clamping around the steel shaft. "Your fight ends here," Kyoung Su declares coldly. But suddenly snap, the baton retracts on its own, betraying him in the critical moment. The girl gasps for air, seizing the opening to scramble back. Kyoung Su lets out a frustrated sigh, glaring at the malfunction. He opens his mouth to curse the faulty equipment, but she cuts him off with a vicious blow to the face. Staggering back, Phoenix heaves, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Kyoung Su wipes blood from his lip, scoffing. "The quality of this gear is absolute trash." It is typical of the brass to issue cheap toys like this to low-ranking officers. No wonder the police force struggles in actual combat. But there is no time to complain. The woman lunges at Kyung Su with renewed ferocity. He raises his arms to block the assault, but something catches his eye. In the split-second gap between their clashing limbs, he spots a strange seal on her body. It is unlike anything he has ever seen, a mark that turns her eye a blood-curdling red. Is it a new artifact? Suddenly, he looks down. His own hand is reacting violently to the proximity. Damn it, he thinks, alarm bells ringing. The toxin is potent enough to affect him through simple skin contact and clothing. This does not look good. Yet, she is faring no better. Panting heavily, she glares at him with a mix of fear and confusion. "Who are you?" she demands. "Why do you have the same eyes as Byung Kwang?" Before he can answer, her earpiece crackles. A subordinate screams a warning. Mr. Orchid has made contact, and backup is swarming the area. The sirens are already wailing in the distance. The police reinforcements are closing in fast. Kyung Su makes a calculated decision. "Get lost," he growls. He will let her go for today. Their paths are destined to cross again. Besides, the police will not prioritize chasing her right now. Phoenix turns, ripping the seal from her skin as she barks orders to her team. "Everyone, retreat. Gather up now." "Mum, are you all right?" a subordinate asks. But her mind is elsewhere, haunted by the cop who mirrors the legendary Byung Kwang. Moments later, patrol cars and ambulances screech to a halt at the scene. Superintendent Hong Jun rushes over, scanning the area. Did they slip away? In response, Kyung Su tosses the useless baton at him with disgust. "How does a baton collapse from mere grip strength?" Kyung Su asks. Hong Jun catches it, defensive. "These aren't bad. You just shouldn't use them like a barbarian." Kyung Su ignores the excuse and holds up his trembling hands. "I can't feel them," he states flatly. Panic flashes in Hong Jun's eyes, and he screams for a medic immediately. Kyung Su grimaces. That was an unexpected variable. He was lucky Phoenix lost her nerve when she did. Was it transmitted through the fabric? Did they increase the original dosage, or is this an entirely new chemical compound? As the doctor frantically examines him, Kyung Su realizes the truth. Phoenix has become a walking biohazard. He hoped to handle this quietly, but things are about to get chaotic. "Superintendent," he says, his voice grim, "I need a favor." Hong Jun sighs, rubbing his temples. What is it this time? Later that night, Kyung Su returns home. He reaches for the door handle, sensing the killing intent waiting in the shadows. Phoenix's goons are lying in wait. He opens the door, and a smoke grenade rolls out. Boom, we got him. The assassins sneer from the darkness. The gas fills the hallway instantly. A potent military-grade compound designed to induce total confusion followed by a coma. Madam Phoenix ordered a double dose. One whispers, "He'll be suffering the consequences for weeks." But as the smoke clears, a figure emerges. Kyung Su stands there, wearing a high-grade gas mask. "I borrowed some toys," he thinks, his voice muffled behind the mask. Not the cheap stuff this time. He knew these rats would come sniffing around. It seems the scared little girl didn't have the guts to show up herself. He mocks internally. Whatever, time to field test this expensive equipment. He raises his weapon. The assassin's eyes go wide with shock. Where did he get that gear? One shouts, "Don't panic." Another yells, "The gun isn't loaded. It's a bluff." Asterisk click bang, asterisk Kyung Su drops the first man instantly. He flows into the next motion, ruthlessly neutralizing the remaining two until the magazine clicks empty. Silence falls, with his targets writhing on the floor. He steps over them, an apex predator surveying his catch. Now this, he muses, analyzing the immobilized men, is a quality firearm. Outside, police cruisers swarm the building. Residents peek out, terrified. "Go back inside." An officer commands. The civilians whisper nervously about the explosions and gunfire, unsure if it was real or a nightmare. Upstairs, Hong Jun surveys the carnage. Rubber bullets or not, he sighs, "You completely overdid it." "Are they even breathing?" Hong Jun asks. "They got exactly what they deserved," Kyung Su replies coldly. "Check their mouths for suicide capsules before transport. They might wake up." Hong Jun stares at him. a chill running down his spine. You really are him. You are Byung Kwang. Kyung Su raises an eyebrow. You were still doubting me? Even after I asked for the specific loadout? Can you blame me? The superintendent retorts. No sane person believes in reincarnation. But after seeing you handle the poison incident with Phoenix, and now this tactical dismantle, I'm about 99% convinced. Kyung Su smirks behind the mask. Why not 100%? Hong Jun stands tall, his expression serious. That 1%. If you really are Byung Kwang, it makes no sense that you haven't gone after Manhwa to stop him. Kyung Su leans back. You were the one who lectured me on the importance of solid evidence. Now you say I should have acted without it. That is the correct thinking for a police officer, Hong Jun admits. But that is not how the legendary mad dog Byung Kwang operates. Kyung Su's gaze darkens. You forget who we are dealing with. Manhwa is adored by every citizen in this nation. To the public, he is not a villain. He is a living saint. Kyoung Su lays out the cold, hard facts. If that man is harmed, public opinion will turn against them in an instant. Merely stopping him solves nothing. The darkness of the underworld stretches far deeper than the superintendent could ever imagine. Hong Jun questions if other organizations lurk in the shadows besides Hookah. But the protagonist cuts him off. He doesn't give a damn about the others. His only goal is the monk's absolute destruction, to ensure no one else is forced to endure the living hell he survived. Silence stretches between them before Hong Jun finally agrees. They will unite to put that monster behind bars. But Kyoung Su corrects him sharply. The superintendent seems to have forgotten who is saving whom from total defeat here. If he wants to win, he better listen close. Hong Jun smirks, claiming he has been doing just that. Finally, Kyoung Su drops the truth. It isn't that he didn't try to stop the monk before, it is that he couldn't. After all, that man is the very master who taught him everything he knows. Elsewhere, the monk confronts Phoenix, his grip like iron. She flinches, terror filling her eyes at his touch. She begs Lord Buddha for mercy, but his gaze is colder than death, burning with silent fury. He shoves her into the dirt. He demands if the drugs have rotted her brain, losing her assets and foolishly raiding a police station. Tears stream down her face as she pleads. Lord Buddha scoffs. It seems she needs a painful lesson. She tries to crawl away, swearing on her life she won't make the same mistake twice. Suddenly, cruel laughter echoes from the shadows. New rivals mock her, sneering that she cries like a child and has hit rock bottom. If she keeps weeping, she will wither away until she vanishes from this earth entirely. From the floor, Phoenix demands to know why the Bodisattva brothers are here. A woman snaps her fan open with a sharp clack. Did she really think they came without Lord Buddha's summon? Phoenix cries out to Cherry Blossom, shocked that even she has arrived. One of the brothers sneers at her confusion. The monk turns, his voice booming. Everyone is present. The trial regarding the disposal of Phoenix the November agent begins now. The air turns heavy as the executives stare her down. Phoenix screams, promising to recover everything she lost if he just shows mercy. But the monk cuts her off. No need. He produces a box of rolled product. He has already reclaimed it. The girl freezes in shock. He turns to his counsel: April's Black Bodisattva, July's Bodisattva, and March's Cherry Blossom, demanding their verdict. July votes for immediate disposal. April agrees, disgusted by her perverse reliance on chemical power. March turns to Phoenix with a pitying look. They were close over the years, but the professional world shows no mercy. The majority has spoken. Phoenix wails in terror, calling Buddha a monster as she realizes her fate. She realizes he planned to eliminate her from the very start. July rolls his eyes at her pathetic whining. She screams that he surrounded her with enemies on purpose. March simply looks away, claiming to be hurt by the accusation. Buddha remains silent as the girl rushes toward him. Phoenix spots March offering a loaded gun to her master. The monk accepts the weapon. He has no use for trash that cannot serve him. As she sobs, he prays for the merciful Buddha to save her wretched soul. Just as the trigger is about to squeeze, Phoenix bows her head to the floor. She announces she has a new creation, a compound 5 times more potent than anything before her own invention, invisible to inspections. April scoffs at the mention of drugs again, but the monk pauses, asking for the quantity. Phoenix answers breathless, 10 kilograms. Interest piqued, the monk demands the distribution plan. She reveals a massive web connecting the undergrounds of Korea, Japan, China, and all of Southeast Asia. She begs for 6 months, that is all she needs to prove herself as his useful daughter once more. The monk lowers the gun. He gives her 3 months. She must repair the damage she caused. A twisted smile cracks across her face. Meanwhile at the hospital, Ya Young is delirious, spouting nonsense. Kyoung Su asks what is happening. The staff explains she is suffering from severe withdrawal, her nerves on fire. She babbles incoherently until a colleague translates. She wants Kyoung Su to wipe her mouth. The colleague is shocked Kyoung Su actually came to visit. The protagonist shrugs. They visited him when he was down, so now they are even. He is here now to pay his debts. Another officer mentions Kyoung Su's special promotion. He claims he hasn't heard of it yet. With a smirk, he tells them to work harder if they are jealous, then turns to leave. They couldn't help but stare. Kyoung Su wasn't just different. His very soul seemed to have shifted. It left them wondering, what had they been doing with their own lives? Later, inside the precinct walls, Hong Jun drops a bombshell. A traitor is hiding among them. There's a rat within the police force. Kyoung Su's eyes widen in shock. The officer explains that he wanted to test the substances Kyoung Su brought. He sent them to the forensic lab, but they vanished into thin air. Someone intercepted them. He asks if the protagonist has any clues, but Kyoung Su plays his cards close to his chest. He claims total ignorance about police affairs. That evidence is his ace in the hole. He resolves to reclaim it the moment he crushes the one responsible. He decides to handle the internal rot personally. He needs to move fast and identify her subordinates. Hong Jun assures him that the interrogation is already underway. Kyoung Su presses for answers. When can he unleash the special team on the Vaguka investigation? Hong Jun's expression darkens. There is no team left. They are all 6 feet under at the cemetery. Silence hangs heavy in the air. Kyoung Su accuses the man of lying to his face. Hong Jun doesn't flinch, admitting he simply couldn't trust him back then. The protagonist warns him not to move, or he will put him in cuffs right now. But the superintendent halts him. He poses a simple question. Why not build a new team from scratch? To lead a squad, one needs at least a small Magongwa rank. Hong Jun confirms the protocol. Since he holds to Magongwa, he has the authority, but the protagonist shuts it down instantly. He works alone. Hong Jun mentions he already pitched the team idea, but Kyoung Su cuts him off cold. That wasn't what he meant. The superintendent general removes his hand, his voice dropping to a command, Corporal. He reminds him that the police force is a machine. A lone wolf has limits. A team brings funding, legitimacy, and results. This isn't a suggestion. As his superior, he orders Corporal Kyoung Su to assemble a squad. He can't do it himself. Too many prying eyes are watching, and the risks are too high. Kyoung Su scoffs at the word order. If he had just asked nicely, maybe he would have considered it. Without missing a beat, Hong Jun changes his tune. He asks him, politely, to build his team. Back at the hospital, the rumors are flying. Is he really building his own unit? It is unheard of for a mere corporal. Yanji asks the million-dollar question. Who made the cut? The protagonist looks at them. It's obviously them. There isn't anyone else at the station with a lower rank to pick from. His colleague is stunned, thanking him profusely. He thought his injury had made him trash. Yanji tears up, swearing to work hard. They thought they were destined to rot behind a desk forever. They marvel at the bond of colleagues, but the protagonist cuts through the sentimentality. They don't know their place yet. He doesn't need useful colleagues. He needs pawns who will obey his every command without question. The realization hits them. So, they aren't partners. The protagonist confirms it cold. They are subordinates, people who will risk their lives on his word and retreat the instant he commands it. If they accept that reality, they must call him chief. Only then are they on the team. He thinks back to the report Hong Jun handed him. First up is Hang Hai-jun, 25 years old. A human weapon trained in boxing, kickboxing, and taekwondo. On paper, a beast. In reality, He failed the written exam 4 times and finished dead last. Hae-jun asks what he means by chief, noting the rank requirement, completely exposing his naivety. Next is Lee Se-in, also 25, a master of grappling, judo, and jiu-jitsu. But during his interview, he had an emotional meltdown. Even now, he mumbles that chief sounds too scary. Yanji snaps at him for being desensitive. Finally, there is Jo Yanji, 25 years old. 0 martial arts training, physically the weakest officer on the force, but she crushed the written exams and ranked first in the interview. She is the brains of the operation. She vows to do whatever the chief wants, just to be part of the squad. The scene shifts to the next day. High up on a mountain, the 3 of them stand ready in training gear. Kyoung Su begins to stretch out his muscles. Hae-jun starts to address him casually, then panics and corrects himself to chief. They ask why they were dragged out here on a weekend. The protagonist's eyes go cold. Right now, they are the police, and he is a dangerous criminal. They have 5 minutes to prepare. Then, they must attack him all at once and take him down. Hae-jun hesitates, asking if a 3-on-1 fight is fair. Se-in worries about injuring his chief, but the protagonist checks his watch for minutes left. The clock is ticking. The 3 rookies huddled together, voices dropping to a frantic whisper. Ga-young muttered that the guy had completely lost his mind. Sung-han whined that she didn't address him as chief, and Ga-young shot back that he couldn't hear them anyway. But from across the room, Kyoung Su's voice cut through the air. "I can hear everything." Panic flared in her eyes as she corrected herself instantly. "Chief." They went back to their huddle, trembling. Hae-jun's voice wavered as he asked for a plan. "We promised to follow his orders," he hissed. Ga-young took charge. "Hae-jun, you engage him head-on to draw his attention. Sung-han, you take him down on the ground while he's distracted." Sung-han immediately protested, his face pale. "You want me to die?" Ga-young glared at him, practically calling him a coward. Hae-jun swallowed hard. "Do I just run straight at him?" "No, you idiot," Ga-young snapped. "Remember your boxing training. Use your footwork. Confuse him." Kyoung Su casually peeled off his shirt, revealing a body carved from granite and scars. "Are you ready for combat?" he asked calmly. The 3 rookies froze, stunned by the sheer overwhelming pressure radiating from his physique. "Time is up," Kyoung Su announced, his eyes cold. "Come at me, all of you." Ga-young shoved Hae-jun forward. "Go, now." Hae-jun stumbled out, muttering his mantra like a prayer. Confuse the opponent, footwork. Confuse him. He approached Kyoung Su, shuffling his feet in a bizarre rhythm. To the onlookers, it didn't look like boxing, it looked like a pathetic dance. Kyoung Su tilted his head, genuinely baffled. "Why are you wiggling like that? Get closer, you fool," Ga-young screamed internally. But before Hae-jun could land a hit, the gap vanished. In a blink, their friend was plastered against the floor, taken out with a single, casual strike. Kyoung Su barely broke a sweat. He looked at the remaining 2. "Are you messing with me?" he asked, his voice dropping an octave. Ga-young nudged Sung-han. "Advance, it's your turn." The young man trembled, terror seizing his legs. Suddenly, he broke, turning around and sprinting away, screaming, "I can't do this." But no one outruns the legend. Kyoung Su materialized right beside him, a ghost in the wind. "Never show your back," he whispered, especially to a criminal. With a precise, surgical strike, he dropped the runner instantly. "Fool," Kyoung Su muttered, leaving him groaning in the dirt. Ga-young stood alone, shaking as the monster turned his gaze toward her. "Wait," she pleaded, holding up her hands as he stalked closer. She played her final card. "Chief, you wouldn't hit a woman, right?" Kyoung Su didn't even pause. "I don't fight women," he replied coldly. "But I do fight police officers." In a blur of motion, he swept her legs and slammed her into the mat. Ga-young groaned in pain, clutching her side. Kyoung Su stood over the pile of defeated rookies. "You are on a whole different level of useless. How do you expect to catch criminals like this?" "Rest for 10 minutes, he commanded, turning away. "Then we repeat this 3 more times today." His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "If you want to survive, you need to come at me with the intent to kill everything you've got. Answer me," he roared. "Yes, Chief," the 3 groaned in unison from the floor. Later, back at the station, Superintendent Hong Jun asked how the team building was going. Pathetic, Kyoung Su replied bluntly. I wonder how they even passed the academy. Hong Jun sighed. Don't be too hard on them. They're just rookies. Kyoung Su's expression darkened. We aren't chasing purse snatchers. We're going after people like me. He checked his watch, shifting the topic. When is the interrogation over? You've been at it for hours and got nothing. Hong Jun rubbed his temples. They're stone walls. They just stay silent. I was thinking of using tougher methods, Hong Jun admitted. Kyoung Su scoffed. Standard torture won't work on men who deal with the Phoenix. They're trained for that. Kyoung Su stood up. I was a fool for trusting a cop to do this. I'll handle it myself. Hong Jun warned him immediately. Do not cross the line. Kyoung Su. Typical, Kyoung Su sneered. A country that worries about the human rights of scum. We are police officers, Hong Jun reminded him sternly. Kyoung Su paused at the door. So, as long as I don't physically harm them, I can do whatever I want. The superintendent hesitated, then nodded. Fine. A wicked grin spread across Kyoung Su's face. Leave it to me. I have an idea. Inside the interrogation room, the lights dimmed ominously. The suspects sat at the table, exhausted. The door creaked open, and a shadow stepped inside. It's no use, one suspect muttered. I won't say a word, the thug insisted. But then, the shadow spoke. How is Cho Sang-muk doing these days, that giant in the flowery blue suit? The Phoenix's right hand. The thug froze. Wait, Kyoung Su corrected himself. He must be the right hand now. Since Kim Dong-chul is out of the picture, shock rippled through the suspects. And then there's that woman, Kyoung Su continued, stepping into the light. The one always lurking near the Phoenix. The thug squinted, fear creeping in. Who are you? Kyoung Su leaned in, his eyes gleaming with a familiar, dangerous light. It's been a while, he whispered. I'm Byung Kwang. Now, let's have a talk. The thug's jaw dropped. What are you talking about? Hyung Nim Byung Kwang is dead. His partner trembled, pointing a shaking finger. Look, he looks exactly like him. Kyoung Su tilted his head, revealing a specific scar. The scar from a high heel. The thug gasped. It's really him. I was confronted by the Phoenix. Kyoung Su lied smoothly, weaving a tale of betrayal. Caught transporting illegal goods, or so they thought. The thugs exchanged terrified glances. Is it true? Mr. Byung Kwang is alive? Listen closely, Kyoung Su hissed. I wasn't killed. I was sent on a secret mission. He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. I had to fake my death and infiltrate the police. My job is to watch every move the high-ranking officials make. But then I heard the news, Kyoung Su said, feigning anger. The Phoenix lost a shipment and failed a raid on the station. Amateurs. He pulled out a device and clicked a button. I've cut the recorder with an orchid jammer. We can talk freely. His gaze bore into them. Tell me about the woman, Polonia. Her fate depends on your answer. If she's just sitting around the hideout after a screw-up like that. Kyoung Su's voice turned icy. According to Buddha's orders, she will face severe consequences. The bluff was perfect. The thugs panicked completely. Mr. Byung Kwang, don't worry. She isn't idling. The thug blurted out. The young lady. She's currently manufacturing a new compound, we swear. A knowing smile plays on his lips. It's time to get down to business. Back in the office, Hong Jun stares at the data in disbelief. A new compound, 5 times more potent than the last, has emerged. He reveals the terrifying plan. The syndicate intends to flood the streets with this poison within 6 months. He tosses the report forward that contains the identity of every distributor and the locations of their hidden dens. Hong Jun asks the million-dollar question. Where's Phoenix hiding? Kyoung Su's answer is grim. Not even the shadow leader, Buddha, knows the truth. Her location is a secret guarded by her top managers alone. The superintendent makes a bold call. If they want answers, they have to capture the managers. He confirms the suicide mission. They must infiltrate the enemy headquarters. But he knows it won't be easy to extract secrets from such hardened criminals. Meanwhile, the elusive Phoenix sits comfortably within her fortress. Distribution manager Choi Sang-muk approaches her nervously, sweat beading on his forehead. He asks if a 3-month deadline isn't absolute insanity. Phoenix hums, quoting the old adage that haste leads to ruin. Kim Dong-chul backs him up, fear evident in his voice. The police have already snatched 2 of his men. Rushing now is reckless. It would be far wiser to beg Lord Buddha for an extension on the timeline. Phoenix's eyes turn cold. And who takes the fall if Buddha is displeased? A voice cuts through the tension. I will. A woman steps forward, introducing herself as Sangbai. She mocks Phoenix, claiming the title has gone to her head, and demands a report on what happened while she was away. Phoenix ignores the jab and slams down the order. If she says 3 months, the deadline stands. Choi Sang-muk must connect all distribution routes immediately, and there will be no postponement. While Dong-chul scrambles to prepare, the atmosphere shifts. Phoenix pulls Sang-bai aside, inhaling the scent of floral herbs clinging to her, and pulls her into an intimate embrace on the bed. Sang-bai whispers soft assurances. There's nothing to fear. She will handle everything with lethal speed. She promises to take care of it all. But elsewhere, the scene shifts to pure agony. Jang Yi gasps, begging the coach to show some mercy. Kyoung Su checks his watch coldly. You've rested for 10 minutes. Get up, we continue. The girl protests, her voice cracking. This is too much. They never agreed to training from hell. Kyoung Su reminds them, they agreed to do whatever it takes. Jang Yi groans this is torture. They signed up to catch criminals, not to survive a death camp with a demon instructor. He offers them an out. Do you really want to do this? The 3 grit their teeth and nod. They are in. He points them toward their destiny. Kyoung Su leads them to a warehouse and kicks the door open. Inside, a gang is busy processing Phoenix's drug stickers. Kyoung Su smirks. Looks like we hit the jackpot. A thug stands up, demanding to know who dares interrupt them. Jang Yi freezes, calling out nervously to her friend, but Kyoung Su barks an order. What are you waiting for? The enemy is right in front of you. Act fast. The gangsters realize these are cops. Without a second thought, Kyoung Su shoves his 3 rookies into the lion's den. The gang leader laughs, signaling his men to crush the intruders. He slams the exit shut, locking them in with a taunt. Have fun dying. The 3 rookies panic. Trapped like rats, they start bickering about their hopeless situation. Hee-jun's mind races. What should they do? He has won one-on-one duels, but a brawl against a mob? Se-young is ready to cry and go home, but Jang Yi snaps them out of it. Calm down, we aren't going to die here. She reasons that even though Kyoung Su is a demon, he wouldn't throw them away for nothing. This is a test. They have to prove they are real police officers. Outside, Kyoung Su listens, satisfied. She has the tactical mind to keep her cool in chaos, exactly what he needed to see. Inside, Jang Yi yells for the boys to attack. Hee-jun thinks screaming isn't a strategy. Asking how, she screams back, land the first blow. A thug charges, roaring like a beast, and slams into Hee-jun mid-confrontation. Jang Yi scolds him. He was supposed to hit, not get hit. Hee-jun winces, expecting agony, and the girl mocks him. Of course it hurt, but then a realization dawns on him. The pain is dull. Compared to Kyoung Su's bone-crushing spars, this thug's punch feels like a love tap. The hellish training hardened his body. Wondering if he's become iron, he counters with a heavy blow of his own. Confidence surging, he rallies the team to charge. Se-young realizes it too. These guys are weaklings compared to their teacher. But a man corners Hee-jun with a bat. Hee-jun notices the weapon too late. Se-young grits his teeth, charging like a bull and tackling the attacker round the waist to save his partner. Watching from the shadows, Kyoung Su nods. The boys are fired up and showing potential. But he notices Jang Yi is strictly on cheerleading duty so far. The gang boss loses it. Useless idiots. His men are getting trashed by 2 rookies. Enraged, he rips off his shirt, revealing a tapestry of intimidation tattoos, and calls his subordinates a disgrace. The sudden display of raw gangster aura freezes Hee-jun and Se-young in their tracks. Kyoung Su frowns. It's over. They let fear paralyze their limbs. Once fear takes root, the battle is lost. The boss lunges with explosive speed, striking Hee-jun and sending him flying. Kyoung Su sighs. The probability of failure just skyrocketed as the tattooed giant charges at the fallen Hee-jun. The protagonist realizes they still have a mountain to climb. The leader spits, calling the defeat of his men pathetic, but then his eyes shift. He notices the girl, Jang Yi, raising her hands in surrender. Yangji drops to her knees, trembling in defeat. She begs for mercy, promising to spill every secret she knows if he just spares her life. Kyoung Su watches her cold performance. She thinks she is the hunter, but his eyes catch the subtle twitch of her hand. In a blur of motion, she snatches a device from her pocket and lunges for his legs. She triggers the weapon to neutralize him while screaming for her partner to run. The attacker grits his teeth, spitting insults as he winds up for a cheap shot. But before his fist can connect, Kyoung Su steps in a ghost in motion and instantly crushes the threat. Yangji stares in shock at the display of dominance. Kyoung Su scoffs, noting that this little skirmish only proved how pitifully unprepared they truly were. He orders them to secure the strange substance on the table. The cleanup crew will handle the trash they just arrested. The situation is getting messy, but for now, these 3 capture targets are nothing but dead weight slowing them down. It is time to return to base. Meanwhile, in a shadowy location, Sang-muk stands trembling before a bound prisoner. The prisoner stammers, trying to mention the cops, but Manager Choi silences him with a single, terrifying gesture. Suddenly, a subordinate calls out, pointing at the table. Sang-muk freezes. His eyes widen in pure terror as he spots it, the calling card of Byung Kwang. The blood drains from his face. Back at the precinct, Hong Jun reviews the evidence. With this massive haul, the targets are confirmed as major distributors. The intel was solid. The operation is a go. Kyoung Su leans forward, his gaze sharp. He asks if the plans for the ambush are finally set in stone. Hong Jun nods. He announces that he is bringing in an elite officer for the ambush, one of the few souls in this corrupt city he actually trusts. He calls for her to enter, urging Kyoung Su to show some respect to their new ace. The door opens to reveal Superintendent Kim Ah-young of the KMP Seoul unit. Hong Jun introduces her to Senior Officer Kim Kyoung Su. Ah-young marches in, her eyes narrowing immediately. She scoffs at the sight of a mere senior officer lounging in the Superintendent General's chair as if he owns the place. Kyoung Su complains that his legs are tired, unbothered by her rank. Hong Jun tries to intervene, sensing the sparks flying. He begs them to calm down for the briefing, but Ah-young ignores him. She orders Kyoung Su to stand up immediately, her voice dripping with disdain for his lack of discipline. She repeats the command, her aura flaring. Kyoung Su simply looks at her and dares her to make him move. Hong Jun sweats nervously as the tension thickens. Kyoung Su states flatly that he has no intention of rising. The superintendent cracks her knuckles. She mutters that she never cared for complicated hierarchies anyway. Might makes right. Ah-young asks if he really just challenged her. If he won't stand, she will force him to his feet. The air between them crackles with hostility. Hong Jun screams at Superintendent Kim Ah-young, warning her not to start a fight she might regret. But she is already moving. She finds a retreat, then spins into a lightning-fast high kick. Kyoung Su notices the shift in her center of gravity instantly. He leans back, the wind of her kick brushing his face. His mind analyzes the movement capoeira style. The KMP Seoul agents are built differently. She is tiers above the local cops. Kyoung Su dodges a flurry of strikes effortlessly, while she screams at him for being insolent. Frustrated that she cannot land a single hit, she demands to know how he is evading her. If striking won't work, she decides to grab him and drag him out by force. Kyoung Su notes her instant switch to grappling. Her footwork is elite, far surpassing Seungin's speed. He moves his fingers, aiming for a pressure point on her chin. He smirks, realizing she is a valuable pawn for his master plan. The strike lands with surgical precision. Ah-young's consciousness flickers, and she collapses helplessly into Kyoung Su's lap. Kyoung Su looks down at her. He asks, wasn't she planning to drag him out? Why is she taking a nap on him instead? Humiliated, she snaps back to reality and charges in a blind rage. Kyoung Su dodges again, noting that for a KMP agent, her physical specs are indeed monstrous. In the background, Hong Jun casually munches on a chocolate bar, remarking that the snack is delicious while ignoring the chaos. Once the brawl settles, Ah-young composes herself. She announces that she will now brief them on Operation Phoenix Polonia. Intel confirms that on the last weekend of every month, the distribution managers meet in the club's basement. That gives them exactly 2 weeks. They will strike then. The operation will be a joint effort between Superintendent Kim Ah-young's squad and Kyoung Su's team. Ah-young crosses her arms, skeptical. She demands to know how trustworthy this source is. Hong-jun claims he got it through interrogation. She snaps back, warning him not to joke. Those suspects said nothing when she questioned them. Kyoung Su tells her to drop the doubt. He extracted the info himself. She snaps at him to shut his mouth, offended by his informal speech. She refuses to buy it unless she hears it from the suspect's own lips. She declares she is going to interrogate them one more time. Hong-jun sighs, his expression darkening. He reveals that another interrogation is impossible. The suspects were found dead in their cells. Ah-young freezes in shock. Kyoung Su's eyes narrow as he questions how the station's security could be so compromised. Hong-jun grimly states they must be prepared for anything. He dismisses them, saying he will see them at the next meeting. Ah-young demands to know the cause of death. As she leaves, the Superintendent General signals for Kyoung Su to stay behind for a private word. Ah-young pauses at the door, sensing the secrets in the room. She warns Kyoung Su that her specialty is marksmanship and next time, she won't be using her fists. Kyoung Su shakes his head, muttering that she has completely lost her mind. Hong-jun calls out, grabbing the protagonist's attention. He holds up an evidence bag containing a single object, something recovered from the interrogation room where the 2 suspects were found dead. His expression is grim as he asks the million-dollar question. Does this card mean anything to him? The protagonist's eyes narrow. He identifies it instantly as a crane. Meanwhile, in a shadowy hideout, Phoenix clutches Kwang's card, her hands trembling with uncontrollable fear. Sangma reveals the card was discovered in the warehouse where the police ambush went down. Dong-cheol, nervous, asks if they should report this anomaly to Mr. Buddha. Phoenix snaps back immediately. Absolutely not. Kwang is dead, and the dead don't leave cards. Besides, Mr. Buddha has zero tolerance for nonsense or excuses. Her eyes wild, she declares they must proceed with the plan at all costs. If she can't redeem herself this time, the consequences will be far worse than death. Panic sets in as she tries to rationalize it. Why do the police have Kwang's card? It makes no sense. The pressure is crushing. One failure here means her life is forfeit. The stress breaks her. She screams, a piercing sound of mental collapse, prompting the managers to shout orders to bring Miss Sang-P immediately. Thick incense smoke curls into the air, heavy and intoxicating. A woman steps forward, closing Phoenix's frantic eyes. Phoenix calls out to her 2 subordinates, and they ask what their lady desires. Phoenix's voice is strained but firm. Proceed with the plan. Dong-chu hesitates, warning that the risk is too high since the police know everything. But Phoenix ignores him and summons Miss Sang-P. She orders Sang-P to dose the subordinates as well. If they keep worrying like terrified children, the entire operation will fall apart. The woman bows, her voice smooth like silk. It will be as she wishes. She motions for the men to come closer and accept their gift. Phoenix holds a paper containing the essence of Polonia flowers. She claims it was just refined and purified by Sang-P, ensuring its potency. The 2 men hesitate for only a second before consuming the substance. The effects are instant. Dong-cheol's eyes glaze over as he murmurs that all of his fear is evaporating. Sang-mook agrees, a creepy calm washing over him. Everything will go exactly as planned. Cut to the police training dojo. Kyoung Su is pacing, complaining loudly that the current situation is absolute garbage. He wonders if the other 2 recruits deserted. Jeonji speaks up, mentioning they had to make a detour to the hospital, likely due to injuries. The protagonist shrugs off their absence. They weren't prepared anyway. In fact, thinning the herd might actually be for the best. Jeonji suggests they take a break since she is the only one left. But the protagonist shuts that down. Until the others arrive, it's just the 2 of them and they are going to spar. He declares this will be her special hell training. The girl blinks, confused, asking him to repeat that. The protagonist analyzes her coldly, Her physical condition is pathetic. She protests that she's in great shape, but he cuts her off. She is completely unprepared for real violence. She has zero muscle mass. Sure, she has stamina and flexibility like a well-carved statue, but she lacks the specific traits needed for combat survival. They are about to be deployed on a high-stakes operation. With her current build, she will be the first one neutralized and put in a body bag. A flicker of concern crosses her face. She asks what kind of operation could possibly demand such intensity. Hong-soo watches her, lost in thought. Initially, he questioned who would let a fragile-looking girl like her become a cop, but he's starting to see the logic. He knew she was sharp, but she's a genius. Rumor has it she memorized every single restaurant number and location in the district, earning her the nickname Human Delivery. Kyoung Su steps into a fighting stance, issuing a warning. If she doesn't want to be crushed, she needs a strategy. Her only hope is to maximize her strengths and stop wasting time trying to hide her weaknesses. Speed and intellect are her weapons, not brute force. He tosses her a weapon. From now on, the collapsible baton is her lifeline. Extended, it is a weapon of offense. Folded, she must treat it as a shield. A sadistic grin forms on his face. He promises to take extra special care of her today so she can learn the lesson with her very flesh and bone. She needs to burn this into her genius brain. Nervous, the girl asks exactly what she needs to memorize. The protagonist lunges forward. She'll find out soon enough. His advice? Just wait and see what happens when the pain hits. The sun sets on a brutal day. Hyjin and Sunhan return, jaws dropping as they survey the wrecked training hall. They wonder what kind of natural disaster hit this place. The girl, battered and exhausted, admits it was hell on earth. The guys ask what they were doing, but the protagonist interrupts. Do they really want to know? Because ignorance is bliss. Terrified by his aura, the two men immediately back down, begging to live the rest of their lives without ever finding out. Time dissolves. 15 days pass in a blur of agony and discipline. Finally, the night of Operation Phoenix Polonia arrives. Hyjin groans, muttering that he just survived the hardest 15 days of his life. Sun agrees, praying he never has to go through that again. Ganji asks about the mission details involving K and P-Soul, and he scans the dark perimeter, asking what is supposed to be in this forest. She adds a threat if they find nothing. She's going to settle the score with the protagonist personally. Suddenly, the point man signals. He calls out for the captain. Report, target in sight. There's a tunnel ahead guarded by two strange-looking sentries. Junjai squints, confused, but Annie Hying reacts instantly, moving into the shadows. Silence is broken by the sound of impact. She moves her weapon with lethal precision, neutralizing the first guard before he can even blink. The second guard reaches for his pocket, but it's too late. Enong strikes, her movement a blur, dropping him instantly. The entire squad stares, stunned by her ferocious skill. The girl taps her radio, voice steady. Both guards detained. The path is clear. Operation start. Kyoung Su nods, impressed despite himself. That was some incredible skill. He orders the team to move out immediately. But Annie Hying holds her ground. She tells them to stop. She intends to stay behind and watch the prisoners. The protagonist frowns, snapping that she isn't thinking straight. Young scoffs at the arrangement. The idea of elite KMP Seoul agents working alongside city beat cops is utterly absurd. Dongchul tries to defend his team, but she cuts him off with a laugh. A mere city cop daring to talk back to her? She agrees to let them tag along only because of the superintendent's direct orders. But the rule is clear: stay out of her way. Kyoung Su smirks. Being left to their own devices suits him fine. It means less effort required on their part. Young notes his sudden obedience. With the hierarchy established, she orders her squad to take point and advance. The protagonist scans the perimeter after silently neutralizing the entrance guards. Down a long, dark flight of stairs, Young leads the breach. They emerge into a cavernous hall where the bass is deafening. But the crowd isn't dancing, they are swaying back and forth in a zombie-like trance. Young freezes, confused by the eerie sight. Dongchul sighs heavily. He knew it. He knew this nightmare would happen. The atmosphere is thick with danger. Dongchul grabs a radio. his voice booming across the speakers with a message for all club members. "Listen up," he announces. "Rats have scurried into our sanctuary. Unwanted guests are trying to ruin the party." He sets the bounty: capture the intruders and bring them to him. The reward is a 1-month pass for unlimited special treatment. Operation Phoenix has begun. Young screams for her squad to raise their shields immediately. The entranced crowd turns violent instantly. They slam into the police line, their drug-fueled strength pushing the riot shields back. The officers struggle against the inhuman pressure. Dong Chul warns them use excessive force, and the legal consequences will be severe. Young orders the containment platoon to mask up. She pulls the pin and lobs a tear gas grenade into the horde. "Push them back now," she commands. But amidst the smoke, a soldier cries out in panic to the captain. Young is stunned. The gas has zero effect. Dong Chul sneers. The euphoria from the drugs has completely overridden their pain receptors. He barks orders to secure the special goods and rush them to Madame Sang through the rear exit. Suddenly, a shadow breaches the room. Young whirls around to see Kyoung Su charging in, ignoring her orders to hold his position. The protagonist uses Young's shoulder as a launch pad. He rockets into the air, aiming his weapon straight for Dong Chul. A lightning-fast strike targets the manager. Dong Chul is caught off guard, but manages to block the blow with his reinforced radio. Kyoung Su is impressed. This man is no ordinary manager. He and his subordinates clearly possess martial arts training. Down below, the chaos intensifies as the police force struggles to physically shove back the maddened crowd. Dong Chul mocks their tactics, thinking brute force is their only play. But Kyoung Su calls his name, causing the manager to flinch. In that split second, the protagonist moves at supersonic speed. A flurry of blows slams into Dong Chul's chest, leaving Young shocked by his velocity. Dong Chul stumbles back, gasping for air, but Kyoung Su is already there. Clamping a hand around his throat, he slams him against the wall. "Why look away? Did I seem weak to you?" He scoffs at his own shallow wound. "It's nothing to worry about." Remembering the request to spare lives, Kyoung Su shifts tactics. With surgical precision, he uses his blades to pin Dong Chul's hands to the wall. The impact reverberates through Dong Chul's body, leaving him completely helpless. "I won't kill you," Kyoung Su states coldly. "Just stay put." When the manager asks for his identity, Kyoung Su simply walks away. "I don't know either." Young shoves a trance walker aside, adrenaline pumping as the tide of battle turns. She turns to warn about reinforcements coming up the stairs, but freezes in horror. Kyoung Su's blade is embedded in the wall, and Dong Chul is immobilized with heavy-duty tape. The tape holds firm, but Dong Chul looks wrecked. Young demands to know if he tried to break free. "Who was that monster?" Dong Chul gasps. "Is he really KMP?" Young rips off her mask, her expression grim. She wants that answer too. Further ahead, Kyoung Su decimates everyone in his path. He calls out for Phoenix to show himself, standing over a floor littered with defeated subordinates. Young tells Dong Chul to surrender and get medical treatment, but he laughs bitterly. "There are too many cops here. Haven't seen a swarm like this since my Special Forces days," he mutters. Young pauses. "Special Forces? Good to see you, rookies," he grins. "Kim Dong Chul, Class 29X. What class are you?" He raises a detonator, and Young screams for everyone to take cover. Meanwhile, outside the club, the three rookies wait anxiously in the shadows. Jun flinches at the sounds of combat inside. "Is Kyoung Su okay?" Sun reminds them of the order. "Wait here." Young is frustrated. Why bring them here just to leave them behind? Was all that secret hell training just to fill a spot on the roster? They survived so many challenges for this. Suddenly, they sense a massive presence looming behind them. Sang-muk has arrived. "What are little police officers doing here?" His voice rumbles like thunder. The trio scrambles back in terror. Kang-hee reacts on instinct, drawing her taser and firing. But Sang-muk simply raises a hand, catching the charge. He yanks the weapon from her grip and crushes it effortlessly. Impressed by her fearlessness, he smirks. "That didn't even tickle." But all of that pales in comparison to the sheer terror Miss Phoenix is capable of unleashing. In Korea, firearms are a taboo subject, governed by ironclad regulations. Even the police are bound by these chains, and a case where an officer discharges live ammunition is a legendary rarity. That is precisely why officers are drilled relentlessly in non-lethal takedowns, relying on tasers and rubber bullets to subdue targets. But Dong Chul mocks them, clutching a piece of blue candy like a talisman, daring them to fire their useless rubber rounds against his drug-fueled resilience. The officer stammers, asking what his makeshift shield is made of, but An Young cuts him off. Rubber is useless now. It is time to switch to lethal force. She declares herself as Kim An Young of Class 30X, warning him that the next volley will be live rounds, offering him one last chance to surrender and live. But a dark grin spreads across Dong Chul's face. He would rather embrace death than the shackles of captivity, rotting in a cell for the rest of his miserable life, cut off from his precious stimulants. That was a fate worse than hell. And Young asks if he is truly choosing a high over his own heartbeat. But Dong Chul reveals that his humanity died back when he was on active duty. It started on a mission where he found certain illicit substances, and soon, he was scouring the battlefield like a scavenger, abusing his rank to feed his growing hunger. But the human body is cruel. His tolerance skyrocketed, and soon, the common street trash could no longer touch the void inside him. That was when she appeared. Phoenix looked at him with knowing eyes, recognizing a man whose body had become a fortress against ordinary drugs. With a devil's smile, she handed him the blue candy, promising it was distilled from the purest ingredients on earth, inviting him to taste a new reality. The moment the candy touched Dong Chul's tongue, his world exploded into technicolor brilliance. He was no longer a man, he was a god floating in a sea of euphoria, an electrifying rush that shattered his previous limits. Phoenix asked if it pleased him, whispering that servitude to her would grant him treasures far beyond this simple treat. Dong Chul swore his eternal loyalty right then and there. She gave him one warning: never consume more than one a day, for the body cannot handle the overflow of such raw power. Back in the present, the man laughs maniacally. He is a dead man walking anyway. So to hell with the rules and promises. Bleeding and broken, he glances at his mysterious attacker, lamenting that he won't be around to enjoy more candy. So he shoves the entire stash into his mouth at once. And Young screams that the live rounds are chambered, her finger tightening on the trigger as she prepares to end this madness. She begins the countdown, eyes locking onto the barrel of Dong Chul's weapon peeking out from behind his cover. He fires, the projectile screams through the air, ricocheting off the wall and curving straight toward the girl, who barely ducks in a desperate reflex. Shock floods her mind. Are the bullets bouncing on purpose? Dong Chul rises like a demon, barking at his subordinates to wake up and fight. He demands his farewell performance be nothing short of a bloodbath and fires again. Kyoung Su, elsewhere in the building, weaves through the chaos, dodging a lethal shot. Enemies surround him, firing wildly, but Kyoung Su moves like a phantom, seizing a wrist and shattering the bone to force a disarm before drawing his own weapon. A single, precise shot rings out, one target neutralized. He flows through the room like water, gunning down one enemy and crushing another with a bone-breaking strike. Suddenly, a noise echoes from Madame Sang's private quarters. Kyoung Su strides toward the source of the sound and kicks the door open, coming face to face with the woman controlling the chaos. She smirks, noting that he is indeed the nuisance Miss Phoenix had warned her about. She had planned to pay him a personal visit to end his life, but it seems he was impatient enough to deliver himself to her doorstep. Kyoung Su asks if she received his little greeting gift. After all, she stands before him as the legendary first-generation Phoenix. Madame Sang narrows her eyes, demanding to know exactly who he is. Kyoung Su sighs, noting he's heard that question too many times, but he promises to give her a brutal reminder of the good old days. Meanwhile, An Young unleashes hell on the table. The live rounds shred through the cover, biting into Dong Chul's flesh. But the woman shouts for suppressive fire until she realizes Dong Chul has hurled the table at them. Panic erupts among the officers. One reacts on instinct, raising his riot shield to deflect the massive projectile just in time. An Young grits her teeth, realizing that even with his enhanced strength, Dong Chul is running on borrowed time. But the addict is relentless, crouching low and sprinting toward the squad with a blade gleaming in his hand closing the distance in a heartbeat. He strikes from below the officer's visual range, finding the gap under the helmet and taking the opponent down with savage efficiency. And Young freezes in horror. Dong Chul mocks the fallen officer, sneering that hiding behind a shield is a fatal mistake when you assume your enemy is already dead. The other officers scream in terror, but Dong Chul ignores them, turning his bloodshot eyes toward An Young. He is right on top of her now. She hesitates, afraid of hitting her own team in the scramble, and points the gun at herself in a panic, but then sidesteps and violently shoves Dong Chul back. The man stumbles, creating a gap. An Young doesn't waste it. She unleashes a barrage of gunfire directly into Dong Chul's chest. He collapses to the floor. An officer calls out that the target is down. Relief washing over the squad, but An Young's eyes widen. It's not over, Dong Chul hisses, tossing a smoke grenade with his dying strength. The canister skitters across the floor and detonates. Thick gray smoke instantly blinds the squad. I can't see. A soldier cries out before a sickening impact sends him crashing to the ground. His partner screams, demanding to know where the shots are coming from, while An Young realizes with dread that their panic is only leading them into a massacre. Dong Chul sneers, calling their panic pathetic just because one comrade fell. He mocks them, snarling that while equipment evolves, weak men remain the same. He declares this a final lesson for their juniors, but the tuition for this class is their absolute defeat, emphasized by another bone-crushing strike. Terror grips one of the soldiers, his body trembling uncontrollably. He spots a silhouette shifting in the smoke and opens fire, screaming in blind panic. But as the muzzle flash illuminates the dark, horror strikes him. The figure isn't the enemy, it's his own colleague, screaming at him to cease fire. Amidst the chaotic haze, An Young hears the gunshots and the sickening thud of bodies hitting the floor. Disoriented, she desperately wonders where the enemy is hiding and where she should aim. A cold dread settles in her gut, the terrifying possibility that she might be next. In that moment, her thoughts race to Kim and Hying, fearing for their safety. She squints at a shadow looming in the smoke, unsure if it's a savior or a reaper. It's Dong Chul. She recognizes the gun in his hand immediately, but her blood runs cold when she sees him just standing there, completely motionless. She steps closer, hope warring with fear. Was he defeated? But as the initial shock of the scene fades, the gruesome reality comes into sharp focus. She sees them, all of them, her allies, scattered on the ground behind and around him like broken dolls. Her mind rejects the sight. Panic sets in. For the first time in her life, true despair and primal fear claw at her throat. Kim and Hying can only let out terrified whimpers in the silence. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream from the distance shatters the tension, forcing her to look away. Jae Young screams that their attacks are useless as Sang Mook hunts them down. He curses that they're scurrying like rats, while the girl cries out that this is no longer training. Nothing is stopping this monster. It was a stark contrast to Master Gwang's training, which had always been brutally straightforward. He had drilled the map of the human body into their minds, highlighting every single pressure point. With blunt weapons, strike the solar plexus, the skull, the joints. With blades, sever the arteries where the blood flows thickest. His doctrine was simple: adapt to the weapon in hand and strike the fatal points he revealed. A single, well-placed blow should be enough to drop any opponent. That was the law of their world. But as they jam their batons against Sang Mook's neck, they realize with horror, there are monsters who exist outside the laws of logic. The brute barely reacts, muttering that it doesn't even tickle. Snapping back to reality, the squad continues to scream and flee for their lives. Jae Young cries out for the leader's help, stumbling as she steps on a soft obstacle. She looks down, asking what or who is blocking her path. Sean gags, overcome by nausea, and Young stares ahead, her eyes hollow with despair as she points to the massacre. The officers, they're all down. Jae Young asks if this nightmare is real. Sang Mook arrives, impressed, noting that Dong Chul actually did his job this time, until he notices his friend sitting frozen, gun in hand, like a statue. A chill runs down his spine. He calls out his name, but gets no response. Meanwhile, deep inside the facility, Kyoung Su calls out to the former Phoenix, demanding the location of the new one. Sangpai questions his identity. Kyoung Su scoffs, telling her to guess. Surely a woman in her position isn't naive enough to need an introduction. She plays coy, replying that she really isn't sure who he is. She muses that he seems like an interesting man saying interesting things. Under different circumstances, she might have poured him tea. But her hand moves. As she rips a patch from her shirt, Kyoung Su lunges, his fist flying forward. He sneers that this is the trademark of a junkie, sending her flying across the room before she can apply the strength-enhancing patch. She scrambles up, still clutching the drug. Kyoung Su doesn't let up. He rushes in with a devastating kick, mocking her for wasting time on cheap tricks instead of attacking. His shin slams into her arm. She grunts under the heavy impact, her hand subtly moving a pill toward her mouth in a desperate bid for power. But Kyoung Su is faster. His hand clamps over her mouth, shutting down her attempt instantly. Too obvious, he warns. He mocks her, saying it must be gross to keep a pill there all day, and forcibly removes it. Sangpai thrashes, trying to lock his legs with hers. Kyoung Su shakes his head. An attempt from someone who relies on chemicals is pathetic. Without her drugs, she is the very definition of useless. With a surge of force, he slams her body onto the table. She groans in pain. Kyoung Su demands the Phoenix's location again, stating there's no honor in protecting a coward who hides while her subordinates bleed. Sangpai spits back that she isn't a coward. Kyoung Su nods coldly agreed. She's just a junkie dependent on substances. He warns that if she stays silent, the worst is yet to come. Suddenly, a stack of papers smacks against his back, cutting him off. He spins around, eyes widening in surprise. A group of children stands there, glaring at him with pure hatred. A little girl screams that he's a villain. Kyoung Su is taken aback. Sangpai smirks, noting the children are late. She told them to come the moment they heard the commotion. One of the boys charges with a knife, screaming at him to get away from Miss Sangpai. Kyoung Su simply sways out of the way. With a lightning-fast strike, he neutralizes the boy, immobilizing him without causing lasting harm. The other two boys rush him with inhuman speed. Kyoung Su repeats the motion, precise and efficient, sending the children crumpling to the floor. Sangpai asks what his next move is, revealing that while he was distracted, the stimulant has already taken effect. Kyoung Su's eyes darken, asking if she really just dragged children into her war. Sangpai smirked, eyes flashing with defiance. Who knows? The protagonist wasn't amused. Wrong answer. He kicked the fallen blade into the air and snatched it from the sky with lethal grace. You've really pissed me off now. There's no turning back. Flashback. Deep in a remote sanctuary, Sangpai watched from the shadows. Byung Kwang stood facing an opponent. Ruda stepped forward, analyzing the scene. What's the verdict? Is this kid truly the new Byung Kwang? Phoenix hesitated. I can't tell. He seems stronger than the first generation. Yet he refuses to deliver the killing blow. Is he weak? Buddha scoffed at the question. You're blind, woman. The drugs have dulled your senses. He isn't failing to finish the fight. He is choosing mercy. It's a game to him. Sangpai narrowed her eyes, toying with a monk-level fighter. Buddha grinned darkly. When that boy arrived, he was the only survivor against the first generation. Look closer, Buddha commanded. Feel the pressure. The boy created countless openings, but they were traps, beautiful and deadly, like willow leaves dancing in a storm. Who else could bear the title of Byung Kwang but him? Back in the present, steel bit into Sangpai's flesh, *// So this is it. Reality crashed down on her. She understood now. This man was the real deal. He moved with the terrifying speed and precision of the wind itself. The battle ended in an instant. Sangpai collapsed, broken and beaten on the cold ground. The protagonist loomed over her like a reaper. I'll ask one last time. Where's Phoenix hiding? Sangpai gasped, blood bubbling at her lips. If I talk, will you spare me? I'll make it quick, he promised coldly. A bitter, tragic smile touched the girl's face. The first-generation Phoenix, now known as Sangpai, once the ruler of November. Her fate had been left in the hands of the new Phoenix by Buddha. The law of succession was absolute. New blood replaces the old, a ceremony of death. It ends with the farewell of the previous generation. But the new Phoenix, broke the cycle. She didn't kill the predecessor. Instead, the young girl wept. "Why?" she asked. "You tried to kill me. You know how much poison I've swallowed. I spared you, and you still wanted me dead." The young girl wiped her tears. "Do you hate me that much?" Sangpi's voice trembled. "That could never happen." Young Phoenix broke down completely. "Why does everyone hate me? I fought to survive. They tried to kill me for being weak. I became a month to live. But now they despise me for the drugs." Sangpi felt a pang of guilt. She, of all people, should have understood that pain. They were mirrors of the same tragedy. The young girl stood up, determination burning in her eyes. "We're doing this. If I drink this poison, you have to like me." She didn't hesitate. She swallowed the toxic vial right in front of Sangpi. "How is that?" Blood poured from her eyes and mouth. She smiled through the red mask. "I drank it all. I did good, right? From now on, we're friends." She begged for just one answer. Sangpi, who had lived only for herself, felt her heart shatter. As the girl cried in her arms, she felt love for the first time. Back in the bloody present, tears streamed down Sangpi's face. "How can I send the first person I ever loved straight to hell?" Byung Kwang crushed her under his boot. "If that's your final answer, then go to hell yourself." *Shing. */ The final cut ended her misery. The protagonist turned away, indifferent to the tragedy. "I'll have to ask the other rats." But a faint whisper stopped him. "Miss Phoenix, she will come back here. The children are your responsibility now. Please, spare Phoenix's life." That was her final prayer to Byung Kwang. He paused, weighing the soul of the dead woman. Outside, an engine roared. Phoenix was racing toward her destiny. Byung Kwang muttered, "That depends on how that damn woman behaves." Suddenly, chaos erupted nearby. "Sang-muk, help the captain." A man rushed to his friend, but the girl screamed a warning. "Pull yourself together." She slapped him repeatedly to wake him up. "Useless. Try harder," she begged. But Hai-jun yelled out in terror, "Get back. He's using the rage patches." Sang-muk had lost his mind to the drugs. He charged like a wild beast. "Block him." The girl screamed. Sang-muk swung with inhuman force. *bam*. One elbow strike sent them both flying. Eyes burning with madness, he targeted the girl. "I'll rip your organs out one by one." His hand reached for her throat. Death seemed certain, but blood sprayed the air. It wasn't hers. Sang-muk howled in agony as a deep gash opened on his body. Yoon-hee gasped, seeing her savior. Kyoung Su stood tall, blade dripping. "Not on my watch. You won't tear my colleagues apart." He smirked coldly. "Besides, this girl's body is still useful to us." He glanced at Dongchul. "I hit his pressure point, yet he still fights. I underestimated the big guy." Suddenly, a shadow moved. Sang-muk attacked from behind. *clang. The protagonist blocked the blow effortlessly with his shield. That had to hurt. Sang-muk roared, clutching his shattered hand. The protagonist sighed, bored. "Hey, you three, grab the unconscious kids." He raised his gun, eyes cold as ice. "I'm ending this right now." Desperate, Sang-muk grabbed two bodies as meat shields. "Shoot me if you dare." The protagonist didn't blink. He accepted the challenge. *bang. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out. The bullet slices the air between them, burying itself directly into Sang-muk's shoulder. He groans in agony, his grip loosening just enough for Kyoung Su to step back. "I won't end you just yet," Kyoung Su declares calmly. They were already trapped in a living hell. Kyoung Su calculated his next move instantly. He needed at least one of them alive to serve his purpose. Sang-muk's shock turns to blind rage. What the hell was that? He screams. Calling Kyoung Su a bastard, he charges forward like a wounded beast. But Kyoung Su is faster to precise shots shatter the man's legs, dropping him instantly. Standing over the crippled enemy, Kyoung Su issues a command to his team, "Report to base." "We are returning immediately." The acknowledgement comes through the comms loud and clear. As the adrenaline fades, Kyoung Su reflects on the skirmish. He thought this mission would be a walk in the park. He admits to himself, with a hint of bitterness, that he severely misjudged the situation. He had set his expectations high for this squad. Yet, looking at the girl now completely mentally broken and trembling, He realizes his hopes were nothing but a fantasy. Jamie looks at the protagonist, her eyes wide with fear, and begs him to restrain the enemy. Kyoung Su scoffs internally. She treats him like a deity, which only proves he overestimated her combat readiness. He turns to the defeated trio, his voice flat. You should just give up. But before the words fully land, a sudden movement in his peripheral vision sets off his instincts. With a roar like thunder, a motorcycle crashes through the entrance. It's Phoenix. She drifts the heavy machine, aiming the vehicle like a missile directly at where the protagonist is standing. Kyoung Su reacts instantly, raising his rifle to fire. But Phoenix is too fast. She swerves, slamming her rear tire into his riot shield with bone-shaking force. The impact sends the protagonist flying backward. The bike screeches to a halt, and the rider dismounts with terrifying grace. Sang-mook, clutching his shoulder, cries out to his savior as she removes her helmet. The emblem on her jacket has changed, but the face is unmistakable. Hee-jun freezes. He recognizes her immediately. The psychotic woman from the other day has returned. Phoenix ignores the pleasantries. She barks orders at Sang-mook. Gather the survivors. We're leaving. Finding an escape route through this mess was harder than I anticipated. Her eyes narrow with grim determination. I might get chewed out by leadership for this failure, but I'd rather face their wrath than leave you all to die. Sang-mook's voice trembles as he delivers the crushing news. Ma'am, everyone else is already dead. I'm the only one left. Phoenix freezes, shock washing over her face, as the protagonist coldly confirms the report. Lifeless, all of them. Kyoung Su taunts, invoking the names of her fallen comrades. Dangchul and San. Rage detonates within Phoenix. She revs her motorcycle engine to a scream, reaching into her jacket. Steel flashes in her hand. She twirls throwing stars between her fingers, her killing intent saturating the air. Fine, she hisses. Then I will take your life myself. Kyoung Su feigns a gasp, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Oh no, he deadpans, raising a hand. That is absolutely terrifying. The scene shifts to a memory years ago. Byung Kwang sat nursing an injured arm when a familiar voice called out. A younger Phoenix approached, worried. You disobeyed Lord Buddha again, didn't you? Are you okay? Byung Kwang had asked about her training. The girl looked down, ashamed. I'm fine, she whispered. It's my own fault for being so weak. I deserve the punishment. She forced a smile. Lord Buddha said you'll be evaluating us starting next month, honestly. I'm relieved. I feel safer knowing you're the one in command. Her admiration was palpable back then. I was so envious, she confessed. You were promoted to be one of the months. You even earned a code name. Byung Kwang. It sounds so cool, she mused, eyes sparkling with ambition. Do you think I can get a name too? Byung Kwang had simply laughed, telling her that her dreams were too big for her own good. I know the relationship between the months is awful, Phoenix said, her voice turning serious. It's a snake pit at the top, but if I make it, you have to promise to still be friendly with me, okay? Back in the present, that innocent girl is gone. Phoenix hurls the explosive flowers directly at the protagonist. Kyoung Su blocks, but one hits his glove. Asterisk boom. Asterisk it doesn't tear him apart, but a thick, white cloud erupts on impact. Narcotic smoke. Kyoung Su analyzes instantly. The explosion wasn't lethal, but the tactical disadvantage is severe. His vision is obscured. His arm feels stiff from the blast, but he flexes it. He can still fight. The engine roars again. Phoenix charges blindly through the smoke. The protagonist sidesteps with supernatural reflexes, and the girl skids her bike to a halt. Frustrated. How long are you going to keep running like a rat? She screams into the haze. But as the smoke clears, she realizes the battlefield has changed. The protagonist has vanished only to reappear leaping toward the staircase. You think stairs will stop me, she shouts, fueled by adrenaline. She throttles the bike and rides it straight up the steps. He darts through an open room on the second floor. The narcotic smoke trails behind him like a specter and right on his heels. The roar of Phoenix's motorcycle gets louder. Suddenly, she slams on the brakes. The floor ahead is littered with bodies. Her own subordinates lie motionless on the ground. From the shadows, Kyoung Su's voice echoes. Come at me, but be careful not to crush your own people. Phoenix grits her teeth and weaves the heavy bike through the corpses with absurd, high-level skill. But when she reaches the end of the hall, she realizes the trap. The protagonist is nowhere to be seen. "You're undeniably good on that machine," a voice whispers from above. He is hanging from the ceiling pipes. Before she can look up, he drops. His arms wrap around her neck in a ruthless chokehold, locking her in place while the bike is still moving. Phoenix makes a desperate gamble. She floors the accelerator. "Trying to throw me off?" Kyoung Su yells over the engine. "You're not wearing a helmet. This is suicide." The physics take over. The bike careens into a wall, and both of them are launched through the air, crashing hard onto the concrete. Kyoung Su groans, clutching his lower back. "Second time I've hit the floor today," he mutters. Phoenix scrambles to her feet, bruised and furious. "Who the hell are you? If it wasn't for you," she screams, trembling with rage, "everything would have gone according to my plan. You ruined everything." Kyoung Su stares at her, his expression unreadable. "I don't know when it started," he says quietly, "but at some point you began blaming me for every failure. You used to follow me like a shadow. The person you should be hating isn't me." Phoenix covers her ears, screaming like a banshee. "Shut up, don't talk like you know me. You don't know anything." She demands his identity one last time, desperation in her voice. "Who are you?" The protagonist stands tall, the dust settling around him. "Byung Kwang." The name hangs in the air. "That was my name." Phoenix freezes, her eyes losing focus. What did you say?" The protagonist steps forward, his voice shifting from enemy to commander. "Surrender, Phoenix," he commands, his intent lethal yet merciful. "I planned to kill you, but plans have changed. You manage the funds. Hand over the transaction data, and you might live." The command echoes with chilling finality. "Capture her, but keep her breathing. They need her brought in alive." She had one choice: testify against that wretched monk and expose the hell she endured. In exchange, he would let her keep her life. Phoenix threw her head back, laughing hysterically. "You think you know?" Byung Kwang had a secret disciple, and he was a cop. Kyoung Su scoffed at the absurdity. "I know better than anyone." He never had disciples. He had investigated Byung Kwang personally. Did she really think the legend was blind to a tale during his missions? In all of Waga, only two people dared to hate that monk, just the two of them against the world. "So why didn't you leave?" Kyoung Su demanded. The girl screamed, her voice cracking. "Shut up." Byung Kwang was like a statue. He did nothing to help. Even Lord Buddha had cornered her with a chilling ultimatum. "Obey, or you will be the next sacrifice." Kyoung Su shook his head. Hard to believe. Tears streamed down the girl's face. Byung Kwang never said those words to his own student. Old wounds tore open. She hated Byung Kwang even more than the cult leader now. Desperate, she slapped 2 more power-enhancing patches onto her face. Phoenix charged like a wild beast. Kyoung Su held his ground, unmoving. As she opened her guard, he buried his fist in her gut right where the Polania poison bloomed. Smoke exploded into the air, blinding them. Kyoung Su flinched, taken off guard by the sudden chemical reaction. "This feels incredible," she moaned, eyes rolling back. The rush was undeniable. Those toxic chemicals were the only light in her dark life. Headaches, nausea, broken bones, it didn't matter. The drugs washed it all away. Whether she was in the depths of hell or at death's door, the substance was her savior, her god. Bam! She landed a solid right hook on Kyoung Su's jaw. The high was so intense, she replayed the impact in her mind like a broken record. Sure, the drugs numbed the pain. They felt like a cure. But it was a lie, a hallucination masking the brutal reality. She blinked, confused. "How are you still standing?" But the battlefield hadn't changed. The high faded, leaving only panic. Agony surged through Phoenix as reality crashed down. What was that? She thought. I was winning. I need more. Kyoung Su looked down at her with cold eyes. Look at you. Pitiful. Just give up. His words cut through the chemical haze. She staggered up, clutching her patches like a lifeline. Who do you think you are? I know everything. Better than anyone, Kyoung Su declared. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the confiscated patches high into the air. She shrieked like a banshee, my medicine. She clawed at the air, desperate to catch them before they hit the ground. It's over. Surrender. Kyoung Su dropped her with a single precision strike. She was too exposed. Moments later, the begging started. Please, just one dose. Kyoung Su dangled the bait. Promise to surrender, and I'll give you a taste. Just kill me, Phoenix sobbed, trembling. I'd rather die than face Lord Buddha's wrath. Kyoung Su sighed. Sang-muk asked for a favor. She begged me to spare you. Phoenix sneered through her tears. If you were really Byung Kwang, you wouldn't have saved Sang-muk. You would have extracted her intel and left her to rot. She got mixed up with the children, Kyoung Su explained, his voice low. He watched her face closely. Judging by that reaction, you didn't know about the kids, did you? Do you understand why I intervened now? But Phoenix just shook her head, stubborn to the end. You're still playing pretend. You aren't Byung Kwang. Kyoung Su stood tall, dusting himself off. If you're terrified of that monk, relax. I'm going to end him, once and for all. Her eyes went wide. You, face Lord Buddha. She burst into laughter. Even Byung Kwang couldn't defeat him. You don't stand a ghost of a chance. Kyoung Su's expression darkened. My original body was broken, destroyed by years of hellish training. It was a shortcut to power. But the body is just a consumable tool. The damage piled up. That final mission, it sealed my fate. My body couldn't take any more. The so-called sweet mission of the true religion. He was wrecked after that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But this vessel, this is different. He flexed a hand, diligently trained, perfectly balanced. I can move at the speed of thought without breaking a sweat. This body is brand new, pristine. I got lucky. If I'd stolen that other body, I shudder to think. He clenched his fist. Once I master this form, that monk is dead meat. Phoenix froze. The aura was unmistakable. It really is you, Byung Kwang. The protagonist's eyes bored into her. Make your choice. Surrender now, or fall right here. Silence stretched for seconds as she weighed her fate. Meanwhile, outside. Will Kyoung Su be all right? Haijin asked nervously. Ya Young took charge. I'm gathering the squad. We're leaving. Backup is 30 minutes out. First, we stabilize Sang-muk. He's in critical condition. Sang-muk snarled through the pain. Touch me, and I'll take you all down with me. I only need one finger to end you, Ya Young shot back. Fear flickered in the man's eyes. Just take the patches from my pocket. Stick them on me. Now. Are you insane? The girl gasped. Sang-muk writhed in agony. Shut up and do it. Hurry. Ya Young shook her head coldly. Those are dangerous narcotics, and you're already high. I'm not feeding your addiction. That is correct. A chilling voice sliced through the air from the shadows. At the door, imposing figures stood like statues, waiting for their moment. April examined the substances, noting they were merely a week's supply. While his brother July finished the thought, Sang-muk flinched in terror as the girl demanded to know who these intruders were. April repeated the man's name, his voice dripping with mockery. He demanded to know what kind of hell Sang-muk had walked through to end up in such a pathetic state. He was once a titan, solid as an ancient tree trunk, but now he was nothing but withered, dry branches. The organization sent him to stop that woman, yet here he was, trembling like a leaf. This sums it up, April sneered. He is the one who supports the black label. She turned her cold gaze on him, asking if his mission had truly been to stop her. The man blinked, blindsided by the accusation, but the girl simply smirked, claiming she possessed something far more enticing than a simple victory in battle. She taunted him, flashing the substances, asking if he wanted to partake. April shook his head, concluding that lusting after a woman like her was exactly what reduced him to this deplorable wreck. He had warned Sang-muk time and time again about the dangers of women, but the fool never listened, and now he was paying the price. Meanwhile, July called out to his brother, offering a different perspective. There is nothing wrong with women, he argued. It is only a problem when that specific woman is under the influence. April scoffed at his brother's logic, his high standards offended. There's nothing wrong with them. They are weak. They cannot even train their arms properly. July shot back with a grin, perhaps, but they are on an entirely different level when it comes to training their legs. Sang-muk finally found his voice, asking what brought the legendary Lepedoza brothers here. An obvious question, April replied coldly. We are here to stop that woman. Now, tell us where she is." Miles away from that chaotic scene, the protagonist, Byung Kwang, trekked forward with Phoenix on his back. She murmured softly, the weight of nostalgia hitting her. "This reminds me of the old days." Byung Kwang cut her off sharply. "Save your breath. You'll need the energy to surrender." But the question hung in the air. Did she remember the beginning? The memories flooded back to the day they first met. The boss, known as Buddha, had interrupted Byung Kwang's work. "This is the child," Buddha had said, "the one who survived the entrance trial. From this moment on, you are a unit." The order was absolute. Byung Kwang was tasked with teaching her everything, molding her into a weapon through relentless practice. The memory shifted to the training grounds. The girl collapsed, her sword clattering against the stone. Byung Kwang had knocked her down with humiliating ease. He looked down at her, unimpressed. "How did you pass the first rite of passage with such weakness?" The girl trembled, speaking of the piles of bodies. She had woken up trapped among the dead, the sole survivor by sheer luck. Byung Kwang's eyes were cold. "Then you are not skilled enough to be here." "I'm sorry," she cried out, desperation in her voice. "I will do whatever you command. Just please, do not tell Master Buddha." Byung Kwang remained silent, watching her dignity crumble. Finally, he spoke. "Get up." He vowed not to report her, but for his own reasons. When he passed the entrance, he made a silent pact with himself. He would keep his future partner alive and safe, no matter the cost. Hope flickered in the girl's eyes. "Can you promise that?" She held out her pinky finger, confusing the hardened warrior. "What is this?" Byung Kwang asked. "It's how you make a promise," she explained, a remnant of innocence remaining. "You link fingers." "That is what my mother told me." She looked at him with pleading eyes. "Will you promise?" The protagonist hesitated, then accepted. It was a moment of connection before Buddha's dark influence consumed her later. But the timeline grew dark. The agents eventually forced those cursed substances into her system. Back in the present, she whispered bitterly, "I knew it was a promise you couldn't keep." She wondered how he could possibly survive in that hellhole, while trying to protect dead weight like her. Logic dictated she should blame the ones who drugged her. Instead, her resentment had twisted, aiming solely at him, festering more with each passing day. Byung Kwang shook his head, his voice firm. "You have it all wrong. I never broke my promise." He paused, the weight of the truth heavy in the air. "Do you still not understand why you were the only one who survived that day?" Phoenix froze. "What do you mean?" Back at the hideout, the situation exploded. April squeezed Sang-muk's arm, mocking his frailty. "You've become so thin. What a tragedy." Ya Young screamed for her friends to intervene. The group grabbed riot shields, charging forward with a battle cry. But their momentum shattered instantly. They froze as July simply shifted his stance, preparing a kick. Bang, with a single casual strike. July dented the reinforced shield and sent the attacker flying. "Stay put," he ordered calmly. "We are just taking out the trash." April sighed dramatically. "I liked him so much, too." Desperate, Sang-muk ripped a patch from his pocket, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. "Resorting to that substance in your final moments," April laughed. "Will you ever stop disappointing us?" "But go ahead," the assassin goaded him. "Let us see where this path of ruin leads you." Sang-muk applied the patch, power surging through his veins. "I am afraid of disappointing you," he growled. "But this is for Miss Phoenix." He launched a desperate fist toward April. Crack. It was over in a split second. April's elbow connected with devastating force, sending Sang-muk flying back like a ragdoll. He crashed to the ground, broken. The dark road he chose had finally led him to a dead end. Now, April dusted himself off. Whose turn is it? The brothers scanned the room until their eyes locked on something unexpected. Excitement flared in their gazes. Finally, worthy prey. A twisted smile formed beneath their masks. The four survivors froze, sensing the shift in the air. "Interesting?" "Gang," he asked nervously. "Not you." April dismissed her instantly. "I do not fight women for that very reason," he sneered. "Men, however. Men possess imposing physiques. They are the only true challenge." His finger extended, pointing straight at Hajun. You are the chosen one." "What sports do you play?" April interrogated. The young man hesitated. sweat beading on his forehead. Boxing, for 10 years. The girl hissed, "You fool. Why did you answer him?" But April clapped his hands in delight. "Excellent, a boxer's body. I really like that." His gaze shifted to the next target, pointing at Sean. "Don't answer him, gang," he screamed. "Why are you talking to these monsters?" But the predators had already found their game. April snaps a warning, telling the woman to back off. But July interrupts, a smirk playing on his lips as he raises a hand. "Wait a second." His gaze lingers on her, analyzing her form with a predator's eye. "That woman. She's incredible," he murmurs, impressed by her honed physique. He steps forward, closing the distance. In a flash, he seizes her by the throat. Jang reacts instantly, launching an assault while roaring, "Let her go." Meanwhile, April has already crushed Hee-jun, leaving the man paralyzed by his overwhelming strength. July laughs maniacally, his eyes gleaming with battle lust. "You should be thanking us," he taunts. "This coming fight is a gift." The scene shifts to the shadows of the past. Phoenix questions him, desperate to know how she alone survived that day. The answer is simple yet terrifying. She possessed a natural immunity to the lethal substance. Kyoung Su meets her gaze with a heavy heart. He confesses that after becoming her sparring partner, a cruel truth dawned on him. No matter how hard she trained, she was destined to fall before that monster. Tears streamed down his face, his voice trembling with the weight of his guilt. "Were you worried about that little girl?" he asks. With a sudden snap of rage, he breaks his staff in two and lunges at the older man. But Byung Kwang catches the attack with effortless grace. "Calm yourself," he commands. "Even as a month, you are still just a child in my eyes." A swift strike to the neck ends the tantrum. He then makes a proposition. "I can show you a path where she never faces defeat." He reveals his knowledge of the secret herbs used to create the deadly compound. "If we expose her to microdoses now and increase them slowly," he explains, his eyes narrowing, "she will become untouchable." "What do you want in return?" the boy demands. Byung Kwang smiles. "You're a smart kid. Letting me live that day was the wisest decision you ever made." In exchange for a deal with the legendary first generation, Byung Kwang hands over the forbidden herbal list. The pact is sealed. Days later, the plan goes into motion. He offers a warm bowl of porridge to the unsuspecting girl. She cheers, excited to eat, but pauses after the first spoonful. Her face twists slightly. "It tastes a bit bitter," she murmurs. From that day on, he secretly laces her food with the poison. Years pass, and against all odds, she survives. That cruel mercy is the only reason they stand facing each other today. "That's a lie," Phoenix cries out in denial. But Byung Kwang presses on. "Think back. Do you remember the burning fevers? The rashes that covered your skin? Why didn't you tell me?" she demands. He explains the grim reality. If she had known, she would have slipped up. That opponent believed she was born with resistance, just like Sangpi. To save her life, he had no choice but to force her into a state of chemical dependency. He had prepared a secret escape route, intending to whisk her away from this hell without Waga knowing. He went to find her, ready to leave everything behind. "Wake up," he urged her back then. "We have to leave before they find us." But she refused, her eyes glazed over. "No, I need to go to the place that is paradise." A chill runs down Byung Kwang's spine in the present. He realizes he made a fatal error in judgment. "Will you take me out?" Phoenix asks, her voice detached. "I have to stay. I have something greater to do here." He stares at her, horrified. Those substances are the vilest things on earth. And they haven't just saved her body, they have twisted her very soul. Regret consumes him as he watches her transformation. He wonders if it would have been kinder to simply let her face defeat back then. "Why didn't you run away alone?" Phoenix whispers. "I don't know," he admits, his voice hollow. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierces the air. "Who was that?" he gasps. Phoenix's face goes pale. It might be Sang-wook, she realizes. "I have to warn him." They burst through the doors, screaming for him to stop, but the cries have already ceased. April stands victorious, his foot planted on a defeated Hee-jun. Jang arrives, breathless, calling out Kyoung Su's name. Phoenix freezes as she recognizes the figures in the shadows. "The brothers," she hisses. "This is bad." There were once two brothers, the older born with withered legs, the younger with a frail upper body. Their deformities were their trauma, the very reason they were discarded like trash by the world. They were thrown into the hunger room, a graveyard where children with physical defects were sent to rot. But they refused to accept a destiny of despair. They made a blood pact to conquer their reality, no matter the cost. They trained until their bones cracked, crushing opponents and repeating the cycle of violence hundreds of times, slowly becoming monsters. Months later, when Buddha unlocked the hellish chamber, a miracle greeted him. The brothers hadn't just survived, they had evolved. The older one had forged legs as sturdy as a wild boar, while the younger had developed shoulders as broad as a majestic bird. It was an incredible transformation. Two discarded souls had forged themselves into weapons. That day, the brothers were reborn as the lethal duo, April and July. Back in the present, they sneer at the victim slumped on a subordinate's back. But Phoenix's eyes lock onto the Flor Sang-wook's motionless body. A scream of pure anguish tears from her throat as she calls for her subordinate. "I've waited an eternity for this day," April bellows. "I despise you frauds who act strong just because you hold a month's title. Acting special with your weak bodies." His aura flares. The January crane, the March cherry blossom, the August mountain. "Once we crush you all, only we will remain." "Let's spare the cherry blossom though," July leers. "She's too beautiful to break." The protagonist grits his teeth, analyzing the threat. Asterisk fighting 1 month is a nightmare, but these two move as a single unit. Asterisk. "Are the police coming?" He snaps. She checks the time, sweat beading on her forehead. "We're on our own. Reinforcements are 10 minutes away." Kyung-woo gently lowers Phoenix from his back. Time is a luxury they don't have. He can hold the enemy off for 10 minutes, but suddenly, the world tilts. His vision blurs into a haze. What the hell is happening to me? He stares at his trembling hands. The veins beneath his skin are mutating, twisting and darkening from the foreign substance, invading his blood. It is the compound. Mere contact with Phoenix has transferred the toxin into his system, triggering a violent, biological reaction. He recalls her earlier complaints, how she refused to move unless he carried her. She had gone soft, he thinks, but the memory only tightens his resolve. Trouble incoming. April lunges with lethal intent. He tries to seize Kyung-woo, but his fingers grasp only empty air. The target has vanished before the strike could land. Kyung-woo drops low. He executes a swift leg sweep, his shins slamming into April's leg with bone-crushing force. But the giant doesn't even flinch. "You can't drop me with weak hits like that," April scoffs. He throws a massive punch, but hits nothing but wind as Kyung-woo escapes again. Kyung-woo analyzes his foe in a split second. April has bulked up, trading speed for raw monstrous power. He is massive, but sluggish. "Do I know you from somewhere?" April asks, confused by the familiar fighting style. But Kyung-woo stays silent, feeling his own strength rapidly draining away like water. He screams at the girl, "Phoenix, follow the others. Get out of here now. I'll be right behind you." He barks orders at Jo Ryung to take the children and the team to safety. But July steps into the doorway, blocking the exit with a sinister grin. Nobody leaves. The clock is ticking. Kyung-woo knows he has to end this instantly. He charges forward, desperation fueling his speed. "I like this energy," April grins, chambering a punch. Kyung-woo ducks low to gut check him, but April adapts, switching to a brutal elbow drop. Kyung-woo barely evades the crushing blow. Watching from the sidelines, Phoenix realizes the terrifying truth. Kyung-woo is going toe-to-toe with a monster, matching April blow for blow. She clenches her jaw. She has always been dead weight to him, a burden to be carried. Not anymore. She pulls a hidden vial from her jacket. "This ends now. You're getting slower," April taunts, looming over them. "Great physique. Shame you're contaminated. I can't devour tainted meat. Say goodbye to your miserable life." April winds up for the kill shot. Suddenly a sharp sound pierces the chaos of the room. April freezes. Phoenix has intercepted the attack. She whispers a silent apology to Kyung-woo. She realizes she won't live long enough to turn around and confess her feelings. "Get lost, woman," April roars. But Phoenix stands firm, her eyes burning with determination. This time, She declares, "I will be the one to save him." The Phoenix drug has layers, tiers created by the predecessors, evolving into the lethal Kwang variation. The potency determines the power. The higher the stage, the godlier the physical enhancement and the overwhelming satisfaction. But power demands a price. Once the high fades, the biological backlash is catastrophic. The Kwang version was the apex, so potent it rendered previous versions like Sang-Pi completely obsolete. A single dose was a revolution. Yet, a forbidden stage existed, a level beyond Kwang that even the shadowy higher-ups knew nothing about. Phoenix had built a tolerance to the Kwang stage, so she dedicated her life to refining the formula into something purer, something deadlier. The culmination of her genius and madness was named Phoenix Tears. It was her final ace, to be used only when all else failed, or for a moment worth dying for. And on this, Phoenix was certain. Drinking that vial meant the next time she opened her eyes, she would be in hell. Without hesitation, she catches April's massive fist in her hand. "Get your filth off me," April barks, shocked by her grip strength. He launches his other fist to crush her skull. Bam! She strikes his back. April howls in agony, stumbling away. "You witch!" Then he feels it. A subtle, terrifying change in his blood. The drug courses through him. "You crazy bitch!" he screams, realizing the truth. "You used it on me." His purity is ruined. His perfect body is now contaminated. Phoenix leans in, whispering chilling final words to Kyung-woo. "How dare you taint my temple?" April rages. Phoenix smirks, blood on her lips. "Just as I thought. You're immune because you're already a junkie." "Take it back," April bellows, his pride wounded. "I am not an addict. I am fine because my willpower is absolute. I am all natural." He lunges, burying a massive fist into her stomach. "I will break you." Phoenix coughs up blood and spits it directly into his eyes. The crimson spray temporarily blinds the giant. "Damn you!" While he flails, she moves like a shadow. She locks his arm, pinning the behemoth down with a complex grapple using her entire body. "Get out!" Phoenix screams at the frozen officers. "Grab your team and get the hell away from here. Now." "Why is she helping us?" Sang-jin asks, bewildered. Kang-hee shakes her head, pulling him back. "Doesn't matter. Move. They need to save Captain Kyung-woo and the children." But suddenly, stop right there. Jolo blocks their path. Nobody leaves. Terror grips the officers, but Kang-hee spots something on the floor. The discarded drug patches. A reckless idea forms in her mind. In the background, April thrashes violently. "Get off me, you leech." The ground shakes with his struggle against Phoenix. "Brother, need a hand?" Jolo asks, glancing back. "Just get her off," April roars. Jolo turns back to the cops. "Fine, I'll kill these pigs first." Jolo freezes. Kang-hee stands there, a drug patch plastered to her own face. Her eyes go wild with artificial energy. "Wow, this feels incredible." "A cop on drugs," Jolo scoffs. "You've lost your mind." But Kang-hee is already moving. She rushes him, slapping a patch directly onto his thigh. Terror seizes him as he demands to know what this is. His heart hammers against his ribs when he discovers the device clinging stubbornly to his thigh. Like a parasite, he recoils, screaming that it is filthy and begging to get it off. Jang-hee barks orders, commanding Liang Yan to secure Kyoung Su while Hee-jun grabs the children. Their reflexes sharp as they snatch their charges from harm's way. Without a second of hesitation, the group decides to retreat. They sprint away from the chaos, putting as much distance between themselves and the blast zone as possible. Xiangyan shouts for the protagonist to hold on, promising that the medics are seconds away. But the protagonist feels his consciousness fading into the dark, his gaze drifting back one last time. Meanwhile, the battle rages on. Phoenix has April locked in a brutal armbar, her joints straining. With a grim resolve, she whispers a final goodbye to her appa. Jo-ho screams frantically for his little brother to break free, while April roars at the idiot to do it himself. April writhes violently, using every ounce of strength until the lock finally snaps open. Freedom! April smashes a heavy fist into Phoenix's face, cursing her with vile names. Fueled by blinding rage, he strikes her again and again before scrambling to his feet. Jo-ho vows to hunt down that red-haired cop and slaughter her right now. But Phoenix interrupts his bloodlust, revealing the grenades in her hands and asking just where they think they are going. The grenade hits the floor with a metallic clink. She declares with a chilling calmness that the three of them are about to enter the fray together. Unfinished business demands a settlement. She decides they will settle it once and for all in blood. This is the end of the line. They are all going to die together in this tomb. The scene shifts to a memory of a rain-soaked night. Byung Kwang had come to her, his silhouette drenched in the downpour. He confessed that he had taken a human life for the first time. The girl replied that she had heard the news, acknowledging he had become one of the monks. The protagonist observed that Byung Kwang looked as if he had lost a piece of his soul. He asked her quietly if she had ever taken a life. When she said no, Byung Kwang begged her desperately never to change, extending his pinky finger for a sacred promise. She accepted the gesture, sealing their vow. From that day forward, Byung Kwang, now a fully fledged monk, executed missions to eliminate murderers just like himself with lethal efficiency. But there were failures, missions where he could not bring himself to take the shot. He refused to take civilian lives, and for his defiance, he suffered torture at the hands of the organization known as Lord Buddha. Yet his skills were too valuable. They could not afford to kill him. Phoenix, however, walked a darker path. She became a monk who enslaved countless souls with drugs, dragging them down into an endless abyss of addiction and despair. She felt zero remorse for shattering the promise she made to her appa. In her twisted mind, she didn't even think he had failed to keep his end of the bargain. But she was dead wrong. She had drugged and slaughtered innocent people right in front of Byung Kwang's eyes, earning his eternal hatred. Reality crashes back in. April drives a devastating punch into the girl's stomach. Doubling her over, Jo-ho grabs her hair, pulling her head down to meet a bone-shattering knee strike. As pain explodes through her body, she wonders why she became this monster. Then, Kyoung Su's words echo in her mind. The drugs were the demon that twisted her soul. Legend says that if reincarnation is real, sinners are reborn as insects or livestock to atone for their crimes before they can ever return. As humans, Byung Kwang had clung to the smallest shred of his humanity, fighting to be reincarnated as a man to correct his past sins. Lying broken on the floor, she wonders about her next life. Will she be a bug, cattle, or will the universe be cruel enough to throw her back into this living hell once more? She lies defeated on the cold ground, helpless before the two merciless brothers. April mocks her, wondering if her withdrawal symptoms are kicking in since she looks so pale. Jo-ho laughs, suggesting they simply beat the life out of her too quickly. The girl mutters the word drugs, begging for a fix. The brothers burst into cruel laughter, finding it disgusting that she would beg for a high even at death's door. He taunts her, asking if she wants one last hit before she descends to hell, and peels a drug patch off the floor. April demands she take back her insults about them being junkies. As a parting gift, he offers to apply the patch to her himself. Now she should talk. Phoenix stares as he asks if he's really going to give it to her. She reaches out, tears streaming down her face, but then the memory strikes her. She sees Byung Kwang crying in the rain, begging her not to change. In that moment, she makes her choice. She will die sober. She tells the brothers they are exactly like her wretched. Before her final breath, she offers a silent apology to every soul she ruined. April squeezes her throat, mocking her claim of being natural. But deep in her heart, she repents. Even if she can never be reincarnated like Byung Kwang. The girl whispers that she is so sorry, admitting her wrongs. Insect or livestock, it does not matter to her anymore. She does not need to be human again. In fact, she does not want to be reborn at all. Her final prayer screams into the void. Please, never let her be born in this hell again. She weeps. April asks what nonsense she is spouting, and then he snuffs out her life. He looks down at his trembling, vein-popping hands. He remarks that his entire body feels tainted now, but there is no time to dwell. They have unfinished business. Jo-ho asks skeptically if he plans to chase the cops in his current condition, warning that police backup is already swarming the area. April snaps back, asking who said he cares about the cops. He intends to kill them all. Jo-ho admits he is actually a little terrified. The brothers begin to bicker. They still have a score to settle with the orange-haired woman, but the uncertainty of the enemy's numbers weighs on them. April tells him to forget it. If Jo-ho won't come, he will march into hell alone. Jo-ho sighs, realizing he has no choice but to follow his crazy brother. Suddenly, the comms crackle to life. Orchid calls out to the Lepeta brothers, demanding a status report on Phoenix. April confirms the target is neutralized, and they are preparing to exfiltrate. Orchid informs them that backup is climbing the mountain as they speak. The orders are clear: destroy the evidence at the club warehouse and burn the site to the ground before escaping through the rear exit. Loyal to the end, the two brothers follow the orders of Lord Buddha, grabbing their gear to initiate the Scorched Earth Protocol. They set the stage around Phoenix, mocking her even in death. April spits his contempt on the ground, while Julo adds a sarcastic sneer. Then they light the match as the inferno rises. They joke about fleeing before the flames swallow them too. And just like that, the final farewell to the legendary Phoenix burns into ash. In the sterile silence of the hospital, Kyoung Su gasps awake. His eyes dart to the window, his skull splitting with a migraine from the chaos he barely survived. A small bird chirps on a branch outside, oblivious to the bloodshed. The Phoenix's Polonia operation had officially come to an end. Deep within the Buddhist temple, the Buddha holds the November card. With a terrifying calm, he crushes it in his fist. He activates his comms, summoning Maze Orchid. From January to October, assemble everyone. The ceremony begins now. Back at the hospital, Jaeonji is unraveling, babbling in a state of pure shock. Kyoung Su watches her from afar. She looks completely unhinged. A voice calls out from behind. It's Hong Jun. The veteran checks on the rookie, his voice heavy. Can we talk? In the quiet of the waiting room, Kyoung Su asks, how long was I out? Hong Jun sighs, 2 days. Phoenix has been defeated. Kyoung Su nods, a shadow crossing his face. I should have saved her. We needed that intel. He looks away, regret weighing on his soul. Hong Jun leans in. While you were unconscious, the world got loud. People are saying the police used excessive force during the Polonia operation. But the other half, the politicians, are claiming it was justice, a necessary evil. Public opinion is tearing itself apart. Kyoung Su frowns. Are they blaming the soldiers who bled for this too? Hong Jun scoffs. That's politics. They always split down the middle. If Party A draws a circle, Party B demands a triangle. And if Party B draws the circle, Party A will scream for the triangle. It's a never-ending game. Kyoung Su sighs at the complexity of it all. Hong Jun continues. It gets worse. Superintendent Kim, along with officers Huang and Liang, they want to turn in their badges. The pressure is too much. Kyoung Su stares in disbelief. They're quitting. Hong Jun shakes his head. I dragged them back. Barely. They're causing a scene. Kyoung Su mutters. Hong Jun stands up. That's the summary. Now get up. You need to come with me. We'll talk about the rest later. Where are we going? Kyoung Su asks. Hong Jun's eyes darken. To the farewell ceremony. For the Special Forces soldiers who didn't make it. I've never been to a funeral, Kyoung Su admits. Put on your uniform, Hong Jun orders. But Kyoung Su hesitates. Wait, I need to check something first. It won't take long. Meanwhile, at the Waga Temple, a dark gathering takes place beneath the statue. The months of the organization have assembled, but the January crane is missing. The February plum bird scoffs. The crane ghosted us again. Cherry Blossom flips her hair. He probably thinks we aren't busy. I cleared my entire schedule to be here, you know. April's black clover sneers at her. Why pretend you're busy? It's not like you have a husband waiting at home. May Orchid steps in, voice smooth as silk. Easy now. Do you need some assistance cooling off? June Peony waves it off. I'm fine. My dogs don't bite unless I tell them to. July Clover watches Cherry Blossom, eyes lingering. Maybe I should ask her out after this is over. August Moon Mountain is also absent. September Chrysanthemum grows impatient. When is the Buddha gracing us with his presence? October Maple Leaf murmurs. So, the Phoenix has really fallen. Suddenly, the heavy doors groan open. The Buddha enters. Is everyone here? October reports. Crane and Mountain are missing. The Buddha nods. Mountain is disposing of the phoenix's remains as we speak. And February asks, the Buddha's expression doesn't change. He is out of the equation. April grumbles, just because they are Gwangs, they think they're special. Cherry Blossom huffs, I'm a Gwang too, and I still showed up. The Buddha's voice cuts through the room. You heard the news. Phoenix was defeated. February nods. She made a hell of a mess before she went down. Cherry Blossom eyes the leader. Are we here to pick the new November and December? No, the Buddha replies coldly. I called you here for a hunt. One of you must neutralize a threat. Veteran Superintendent General Hong Jun. The room ripples with confusion. A cop, Chrysanthemum scoffs. For a pig, send a disciple. Why waste a month's time? Orchid agrees. We aren't the thugs we used to be in the past. This is beneath us. The Buddha's eyes narrow. Do not underestimate him. Long ago, I sent Byung to stop Hong Jun. Silence falls. Chrysanthemum frowns. Byung wouldn't draw his blade unless the enemy was a monster. July mutters, maybe he just wasn't qualified. No, the Buddha interrupts. This time was different. Byung came back, broken. This police officer is a master of combat. Peony gasps. How can a human be that strong? July looks at the photo. He looks like nothing. April scoffs. Byung must have been slacking off. Orchid corrects him, no. He was gravely injured. The Buddha nods gravely. I couldn't believe it either. We must be cautious. We won't just neutralize him. The Buddha declares, a dark aura filling the room. We will ensure he can never track us again. But a shadow is hunting the hunters. That man is tracking them again, and they know he leaves only corpses in his wake. The boss demands to know who has the power to stop a monster like him. At the funeral ceremony, Hong Jun shivers as a sudden, ominous chill crawls up his spine. Meanwhile, the protagonist scales a rugged mountain, clad only in his training gear. His mind drifts back to that fateful day. As darkness threatened to consume him, the phoenix's dying words burned a set of coordinates into his memory. This is the spot. He stares at the ground, wondering what secrets lie buried beneath. He grimaces, imagining digging through earth teeming with insects. Excavating this area by hand would take an eternity. Just as his patience wears thin, a lone bird flutters nearby, demanding his attention. He follows the bird's gaze toward a peculiar rock. Scenes change to the serene Haguksa temple, where Orchid tracks down Buddha in his private chambers. She offers a sharp warning. Confronting a high-ranking police executive now is dangerous, especially with the eyes of the world watching him so closely. But Buddha dismisses her fears with a cold smirk. It is not just fine, it is perfect. The public's reaction is intense and volatile. That chaos is exactly what he plans to exploit.